Check one, check two. Hope everybody having a good holiday and a good weekend, and just checking out my software. So I thought I'd do some high level. Shout out to Savage Scientist. If he's still here, he said first 3 hours ago. So we about to get started. Like I said, just going over, like I said, a few things of mine. I can't forget when I did that live. So I just talked about what I was adding to my channel. You hear? Shout out to Savage Scientist super early, man. Thanks for joining. On my phone. What's up, casual economist? Let's see. Check on my phone. It's spinning like it's coming. Let's see. It says my stream status is good. So everybody doing all right tonight? Let's see. See, my phone is still spinning. Can you give me one if you can see the video and hear me okay? It's my phone. What's up, JM? Salute Professor Forensics would be a job for experienced tech, right? Not entry level. I think they have a few entry level positions in there. JM, entry level, like they're training you up because there's a lot of gopher work in forensics, especially if you're trying to take it to the police. So if we're taking it to the police, you actually have to take a hash of each file to make sure nobody's tampering with it. So you could have a few junior people carrying the boxes. I've never really seen this in real life. Like I said, I teach it at the university. For forensics, for us, we're never, and in there we're going to talk about it. I've never seen anybody prosecuted, right? I got the Capital One later on the slide. She got caught because she was stupid, JM. She got prosecuted. Usually we trying to figure out how they got in, what they stole, when did they steal it? And so that's kind of what we're looking for from a forensic standpoint. And I put in there too when Mandian actually got hacked from that. What is up with my phone? When Mandiant actually got hacked and got their red team tools stolen. So that's what I see at Jim. So you could have even a large company, you might have a few entry level people. Like I said, they're doing kind of that grunt work, because a lot of times too is in our business continuity and coop, if for some reason the FBI comes in and saran wraps your server because it was used in a crime and roll it out, right? You have your junior people sand wrapper, roll it out after you dump all your memory, dump all your cache, dump all that other stuff. So that's what I see. That's cool, Savage Scientist. So I always add to it. Like I said, I've done it. One company we kind of had like a minor breach. So then we had some forensics company come in and check to see if they stolen anything. But like I said, from a prosecutor chain of custody, that's cool. I love to read it, man. I'm kind of weird like that. Read theses. Wow, my phone is not bringing this up, so I gotta retry it again. So long story short, I did okay, there I am. A couple days ago, I talked about my slides, and one thing in there I had is I'm calling these lectures because I haven't made them classes yet. I think a class would include tests, quizzes, and all that. So I'm calling these lectures. So from just forensics, a couple people wanted me to talk about it. So I'm just gonna go over a high level what that class is gonna be like. I probably started in 6 weeks. I got a couple more AWS stuff, so I'm just kind of I guess debuting it. What's up, Keep It Techie? I saw you over there on Citizen Lou. Rap's not good for us. Keep It Techie. Now I'm just playing. I thought it was an interesting conversation. So check out, go subscribe to Keep It Techie, Savage Scientist Programming. I'm gonna do a little more programming. So let's get into it. Like I said, in the next 6 weeks, these are probably the lectures I start going over it. This is kind of different because I don't see a lot of people doing computer forensics and investigations. I'm trying to figure out, did I see anybody do it? So just something I teach. So I want to bring it to my thing. That's cool. So yeah, so this is not the class. It's just me touching over. So once again, I probably have a Saturday at 3, probably in 6 weeks. Keep it techie, and we gonna delve into hiding data. Like somebody recently tried to hide credit cards in the picture, hide credit cards in the Slack space, because when you delete a file, you really don't delete it, right? You delete the pointers, right? So we're gonna dig into that more depth. But so I just did a couple slides so we can kind of see what it's gonna look like. And if you want me to add something to it, or you got some suggestions for me, I'm open to that. But like I said, I teach a similar course to this in a local university. So let's just kind of hit on, then talk about a few hacks and how the forensic piece added to that. I'm checking out my new software too. I'm kind of switching to Restream so I can bring people up on the panel and stuff, kind of like Citizen Lou. So I'm just checking out some new software and kind of changing it up and trying to go from struggle streaming to barely streaming, right? So it'll be computer forensics, understanding this. So when you talk about digital forensics, what is the application of computer science, investigative procedures, legal purposes involving analysis of digital evidence after proper search of authority? Now we talking about, what's up, Gabe? He's in the house. I'm gonna need Gabe. I'm talking about Mandy in here too, so I'm gonna need Gabe input so I don't mess it up. But digital forensics, talking about digital evidence after property search authority. When you talk about search authority, right? You talk about the police coming in and locking down the scene, chain of custody, validation with mathematics, use of validated tools, repeatable reporting, and possible expert presentation, right? So that'd be Gabe if he, from an expert analysis, he thought how this company was hacked and this person stole it, right? So I've never, maybe Gabe can chime in. I've never seen anybody prosecuted except in the news. I've never been on site now I've been on site where we had some problems and so people got in, but we never tracked them down and took them to court and sue them. So I've never really seen that. Like, so like I said, from my perspective, when we talk about forensics, and Gabe worked for this company, I'm just trying to figure out what was stolen, when it was stolen, where it was stolen, and how much they got out. Maybe I want to know if it was taken overseas or something, but from a forensic perspective, that's what the companies I work with care about. So in October 2012, ISO Standard of Digital Forensics ratified ISO 27037, Information Technology and Security Techniques. The Federal Rule of Evidence, FRE, was created to ensure consistency of federal proceedings. It was signed into law in 1973. Many states use it. The FBI has a computer analysis and response team, was formed in 1984, handling and involving digital evidence, right? So when you talk about nation states and stuff, right, you're going to bring in the FBI, especially if they're stealing something you think is part of national security. Even if you're a drug company and they're stealing the new COVID, right? That could be a national security thing, right? Because they're selling it, changing it, right? So you were bringing the FBI on that. Back in 1990, CART teamed up with the Department of Defense and computers and forensic laboratories. People regularly get arrested for cybercrimes. I've been on a few engagements where arrest happens. Yeah, like I said, I too, to be honest, because I work for big government agencies, we usually call them mandating one of the big companies to do that for you, because you usually don't have forensic talent on staff. Number one, hopefully you don't use it, and number two is it's super expensive. So I know that at the government agency I work, we got a couple smaller companies on retainer. Then since we're a government agency, we would team up with other agencies because Gabe A can chime in. Mandy is expensive as hell, man. Their junior people are like $300 an hour. So if you're gonna bring them in, you gotta get the checkbook out, right? So now we're talking about legal, right? When you arrest people, Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution protects everyone's rights to secure from search and seizure. A separate search warrant might be necessary for digital evidence, and we'll talk about that. That's been kind of changing over the last couple of years. Can the police grab your cell phone? Can the police go in your cell phone without a search warrant? If they ask for your phone, can they force you to unlock it, right? So there's some stuff later on, like when we officially start the class, but um, so from a search warrant and seizure, right? Can they say, give me your thumb and unlock your, right? So legal. So those are the things too, is when it comes with computers and digital, it's a little different, right? Every U.S. jurisdiction has a case law related to admissibility of evidence recovered from computers or other digital devices, right? So how does that move? When should you turn it over? And two, on my channel, we're gonna have some lawyers come on and talk about that, right? I always lawyer up, man. I'm not very bright, man. So I'm smart, but not very bright. Those are two things. So I just get called by lawyer. Yep, very expensive. Having a retainer lawyer is expensive, but it's indeed expensive, especially amended. Yeah. So what we talked about, Gabe, is because I work for the Department of Revenue, and there's 52 of us for every state. Is if there was a national attack on all the agencies, they would all run to mandate. So you need them on retainer, so you make sure you can get their time. Because if it's a nation state and they're hitting every state and trying to do something from like Japan, mandates resources would be overrun, right? So you want to keep them on retainer so you can get access to them when you need them, right? But of course, it takes money that they hold on retainer, and those retainers aren't cheap, right? So even as a small or big company, you need to figure out, okay, is my information valuable enough for me to have on a company on retainer if I have to move, right? Do I have those resources in house? Probably no, right? So those things is part as Coop is you got to figure out, okay, what is the classification of my data? How valuable is it? And do I need somebody on retainer? Right. So if you're a big Fortune 500 company, you probably put them on retainer. If you're a small company, right, you're just gonna wait and scramble around. But so later on, and like I said in these lectures, we're gonna definitely touch into legal. Can they search your phone? Do you have to submit your thumb? Right. So, and are those cases in the Supreme Court or those state cases? So, like I said, we're going to touch on those as we delve down deeper, right? Like this is just a high level of kind of how the class is going to run. I know at point of entry, like borders and airports, they don't need a warrant. No, that's true. That's true. So yeah, JM. So I think digital is a little different, but we're gonna dig into that. Investigating digital evidence, collecting data securely, examining suspect data to determine details of the origins and content, present digital information to the courts, applying laws to digital practices. Digital forensics is different than from data recovery, which involves retrieving information that was deleted by mistake or lost during a power surge or server crash. Forensic investigators often work as part of a team known as the Investigation Triad. Right? Like I said, I don't do forensics, right? The forensic I do is make sure the power is kept up so nothing get cached, make sure your memory stays up, make sure stuff in memory don't get pushed out until they get over there, or push those out down the disk so we have a digital copy and we don't get those lost, right? So from that part is, and two is I always worry about, and I guess this is a question for Gabe. I probably need to bring him up. So if Mandy misses the malware, it doesn't get it all, and the malware comes back, can we sue Mandy? Do we get some of our money back? That's one thing about forensic. If you don't get all the malware and all the viruses and close all the doors, can you get sued because you didn't do your job? Right. So that's why I tell people I don't do it. There's a lot of pressure when you do forensics, right? You could miss something, right? So all that is, but that's why you do hire the Mannions because they got the best things. You're gonna get the bigger companies, Lockheed Martin, Booz Allen, Pricewaterhouse Cooper, because those resources, if you're super good, are super expensive. So you just can't have them sitting around. That's the Triad right there. Game over, salute, trash can forensics, and everything that comes out now. Forensics. Oh, that's true. That's a cool word now, forensics. Right. So, but like I said, we just kind of touching on some stuff. I'll probably start this class probably about 6 weeks. a lecture. I'm not gonna call it a class. Like I said, I teach this, so I gotta smooth the slides out, and of course I like to add real world examples so we can dig into them, right? So that's part of it too. Let me. But yeah, the triad: vulnerability, threat and assessment, and risk management, network intrusion detection and instant response, and digital investigations, which forensics at the bottom, right? So I do more of the top two, right? Vulnerability, threat assessment, risk. Shout out to Gabe. We're gonna do the NIST and the STIGs. No, network intrusion and detection and incident response. I'm not a network's me. So from the network part, of course, you know, you're gonna have different departments gonna help you. But I do a ton of incident response, COOP plans, purple team. I'm a more of an application response guy. So yeah, returning with an SLA guarantee, a mandated prioritizer incident, a returning with no SLA guarantees, you nothing. Facts. So, but yeah, but so like you said, and if you're a major company, right? And I would think the government, like DOD, because they don't have those type of resources. They have a few of those, but when you get hit, like when Colonial Pipeline got hit, they teamed up with Mandated, and I was surprised Microsoft was up there. I need to put some respect on Microsoft's security team because they were right up there with Mandiant with the Colonial Pipeline incident, right? So I got to put some respect on their name. Security cloud, a big buzzword for Wednesday. Oh, facts. That's what I've been studying for. Cyber scientist, studying for my AWS. Getting ready to practitioner. That's the last time I'm gonna tell it because Gabe A keep calling me out. So I'm hoping me, Gabe A, I have a cipher. We're gonna do red team, blue team, and kind of walk through it from that savage scientist. And we're gonna have a panel, blue team, red team. I think I'm gonna do a desktop walkthrough. Gabe's familiar with that. We big government, so we're gonna kind of walk through it on paper to see what it would look like, right? To figure out how we're gonna move and so that's some of the things, like I said, I had planned on my channel and making a couple moves. So that's the triad: vulnerability, threat assessment, risk, network intrusion, and incident response. And part of that, right? Vulnerabilities, you know what you had open. You already knew the threats and risk to your organization. Incident response means they took advantage of what you already knew, right? Digital forensics, now we got to figure out what they take it, where it went, and like, because too, like I said, I do a lot of IRS work. So if we see something that looks funny, we got to let the IRS know. It's not like we've been hacked. The reason why they want to know if 12 states are getting hacked, a nation state could be stopping the United States from getting funding through tax revenue, right? Tax revenue in your states pay teachers, firemen, policemen. So if that couldn't happen, right, people could walk out and put the city in incidents. So we actually report to IRS and Department of Homeland Security, right? They do stuff that's for the whole nation, right? If some look funny, Homeland Security starts sending directives down through the state. It could even shut down everything and send out the National Guard because cyber attack took everything out like a movie, right? So um, vulnerability assessment, risk assessment, test, verifies integrity of standalone workstation and network servers. Most everything is network. I very rarely see a standalone workstation. Network intrusion and detection. Detect intruder attacks by using automated tools, monitoring network fire logs. And that's the cool thing about AWS. They got inspector, guard duty. They have a number of services that'll help you do that, right? And keep track of that for you, right? And I talked a video about that. So, and of course, when we do the forensics class, we're going to identify those AWS services that'll help you do that. Right? Manage investigation, conduct forensic analysis of systems suspected of containing evidence. Right? You can kind of tell and that evidence could be the logs that the user was using to attack you, right? Because the logs is the evidence, right? This user escalated to this privilege, right? Our essay said it wasn't him. He's trustworthy. So while he sleep, right? Somebody fished him, escalated privilege and used his account to steal everything, right? Take your database, export it, encrypt it, so your devices couldn't read it and just send it out like a regular other file, right? So that's where those investigations would come in and escalate that. Let's go. Before I left, man, and I was on an IR team for Colonial. It was what? Yeah, that was that was a wild attack, man. I was surprised they paid the Bitcoin money, really, for I think they paid four, five, and I think we stole a little bit of it back in the end. That was a wild. But to let you know, though, our those old companies like that for infrastructure, their security sucks. So I think that's gonna happen a lot more. And they put TSA over that, which they can barely check bags for the airport. So, Gabe, do you got any idea why they put TSA, the government, over Colonial Pipeline and infrastructure? I at least thought you would put Homeland Security over it. I thought that was the weirdest thing. Let's see. I'm looking at AWS Developer Search. I just got Azure. Yeah, shout out to that. I probably do developer. I actually, man, I ain't took a cert test in 10 years, so I actually start out with AWS practitioner to get my mind used to memorize the savage. I'm 53, man. I don't remember like I used to. So I'll start off with the practitioner. I think I'm gonna go practitioner, associate architect. Then I might go dev. Then I probably go to the special security cert. So we'll see. They're doing a brief history. Started in 1990, International Social Computer Specialist, introduced training on software for digital forensics. IRS created a search warrant program. ASA created expert witness for Macintosh. ILEX currently maintain the IRS Criminal Investigation Division. Access Data Forensic Toolkit, a popular commercial product. As we get into class, it's a case, and that toolkit is kind of what they use for the for forensics investigation, right? Like I said, I don't do a lot of it, right? Like I said, you don't have a lot of that talent on staff because it's super expensive. Yes, outside this TSA, B Dub, AWS or Azure. B Dub, which one do I like or which one am I studying? Or for me, it depends on what your company. I think both of those are good. I'm focusing on AWS. I'm a Java guy, and the DoD uses a ton of Java, which lends itself more to AWS. A lot of people that are Windows centric, Teams, and all that, they go to Azure because it's a little easier to sync up your Active Directory. And don't get me wrong, Azure run a ton of Linux in it. I'm surprised Ballmer and let him and Microsoft and I'm sorry, Ballmer and Bill Gates let him run that much Linux in Azure. He really based that on Linux. Um, I'm 44. Shout out. I got you by a decade. Yeah, I'm gonna knock it out though. Like you said, I just gotta get focused. I gotta get focused, man. That's all. I think AWS is better. Sure. Like I said, I just think it depends on what you need and what your how your company set up. AWS had a 15-year head start on Azure before anybody got wind of it. Azure, Microsoft, and them just be printing money though. So I use a ton of it at work. I'm super not super surprised. Their security is excellent. I mean, I don't know if it's quite up to AWS. I'm more familiar with AWS, but it's killing it, man. And two is me too. I love it, but Azure got a ton of Linux in it. Azure got a ton of Linux, man. So, but yeah. So existing laws can't keep up with the rate of technology. We already knew that. When statute doesn't exist, case law is used. Allow legal counsel to apply previous similar cases during the current run, an effort to address ambiguity in laws. Examiners must be familiar with recent court rulings on search and seizures in electronic environment and format. So, like I said, as we get into the lectures, we'll dig into that, figure out how it moves. I don't. I'll probably find somebody at work that actually do that. I'm trying to figure out who would do forensics work where I work. I got everything else covered, but I'm just for forensics. But like I said, it's rare. So we just going to jump in on the case law a little bit. So that's what I'm got coming up probably in the 6 weeks. Start the finish up the AWS. Just kind of talk about AWS and for a couple more weeks, then switch over to forensics. Like I said, we do a lecture style. Like I said, if you got specific questions, if I can't answer them, I'll get somebody to answer them. Like I said, I've taught this one. This is one of a few things I've never done at all from a computer standpoint. I've done the part where you try to look in the logs and figure out what's up. Like I said, I look at the AWS resources. They give you alerts when users look funny. I've just never done the full forensics, especially when you talk about taking somebody to court, right? So I definitely haven't done that part. So let's jump in a little case law real quick. Cell phone and smart device location data. Where does it come from? Cell phone and wireless service providers and tech companies like Google store certain historical and real-time location data gleaned from cell phone connections with cell towers, GPS satellite tracking, smart devices, application and operating system. Law enforcement can request this data using a court or a warrant. Some of the examples of this, right? So is the CISA a good cert for forensics? I always think that of it as a management cert, to be honest. I'm gonna have to look into that, Black Dove, to be honest. I don't do a ton of forensics, so I would have to dig into that, Black Dove, and do a little research on that, to be honest. I always think CISA are more of a compliance and management cert for that. So I'll take a note of that, Black Dove, but I don't know. I do not know. Let me highlight that. I do not know that. What is a good forensic cert? A good forensic cert. That is an excellent question. I do not know that. I do not know that. Historical. A typical cell phone produces a timestamp, records every time connected to a cell site. This record is referred to as a cell site location information. With this cell site, police can really get a good idea of where someone's phone has been, allowing them to piece together the past events, for instance, connecting a dot as to a suspect location at the scene of a crime. So I'm always a lot of Russian trolls. I know I've seen that in a lot of other things. So I'm sure YouTube's working on that. I always laugh when people say I cut off my location finder. Yeah, but the cell phones companies are still bouncing you off towers, right? So even though you cut that off, right? If the police want to find it, they can get it from the cell phone companies. And a lot of times, especially Google and other companies, buy that data from the cell phone companies and match it to their data of your IP address, right, to get a real good indication of where you been or where you at, right? Because now as soon as you leave a places, right, Google's like, hey, you want to take a survey on that, right? So they're on it, right? So people think, oh, I'm gonna cut off my location. That's gonna help a little bit, but the cell phone companies are still bouncing you off of towers, right? So that's gonna help, but just a little, right? Real time, real time data service providers can either contemporaneously monitor a phone, see a last connection, ping a user's cell phone, and force it to reveal its location. This real-time data can provide police with information on a suspect's phone or current whereabouts, right? But everybody knows that. I don't understand when people rob people or rob a bank and they keep their cell phone in their back pocket. It's like, dude, you just told on yourself. GPS movement. A phone or car GPS tracks its movement using satellite signals, so the information might be stored on the phone or in the vehicle itself, or transmitted to a repository that can be relayed to the police in real time, right? Especially if you got OnStar or one of those type of services, right? Which is good because if you have an accident, it knows exactly where you at, right? But if you're trying to get away with the crime, it knows exactly where you at, right? So we know that, right? So that's just part of understanding data and how it's moved, right? Tower dumps reverse location search. Instead of providing CLI records on a certain phone number, a tower dumps reference to a request for all the CI data connected to the certain cell towers at a specific time. So every and any phone connected to that during that time, law enforcement can use that data to work backwards to identify tracking suspects to be relayed to police in real time. Right? So if something happened or a crime happens in a certain area, it goes to the cell tower and said, somebody robbed the bank at 3 o'clock. I need all that data from that tower from 2:50 to 4 o'clock. Dump me all cell phone towers that was in. Especially now with 5G, you can probably get within 50 meters of a certain location or a certain spot. Right? But so as part of forensics and researching for the criminal with these data or this IP of their phone, right? That's when the legal system comes in and the police and you requesting warrants to get that data, right? Geofencing, reverse location search. A geofence refers to the search of location of history database to identify all users who their device were in a certain location at a certain time. This data is often available through location tracking applications. Police use the information to increasingly narrow their search parameters, the geofence, and try to pinpoint devices that might be connected to a crime again, working backwards to identify the suspect from the database of user movements that far exceeds a dump of a tower. I'm sorry, tower dump. So, but that's the issue. If you just happen to be by a store to get robbed, now, when they do this dump, all of a sudden now you are in a police investigation, right? So I guess is that right? Is that wrong? Is that overreach? And that's something we'll talk about, later in the class to see what's going on, when we start digging down deeper, right? So, do a police need a search warrant for location data? For a typical search warrant, police needs to convince a judge that they have probable cause to believe that evidence of a crime will be found in the place or item to be searched. To establish probable cause, an officer must typically submit an affidavit based on a reliable source that identifies objectively suspicious activity. Right? You just can't say, "Give me the data all this time," right? You got to have a reason and a probable cause to get you in there, right? So let's just talk about a couple hacks where they talked a little bit about forensics and what that means. Right? Capital One fined 80 million for 100 million credit cards. Capital One agreed to pay 80 million in fine to the U.S. regulator after a major hacking incident last year, in which authorities said about 100 million credit card applications were illegally accessed. Right? What's up, Black Heights? It's getting it in. Appreciate you. All good. Go check my man out. So that's why forensic guys get paid well. Blue team, red team. Because if you mess up, the fine, right? We haven't fixed anything. We haven't got anything worked out, right? It's just the fine, right? Let's see, that was $80 million fine. That's a lot of money fine, and you ain't fixed anything. So let's just kind of revisit. I think this happened in like 2019. The compromise originated from the invocation of an arbitrary user request to a server ran by Capital One and AWS. The indictment does not detail specific vulnerabilities that enable these commands, but most signs point to a server-side request forgery. We'll dig that down in the class as part of when we do investigation in the logs. You can see a server-side request forgery and why that happened. Tricks the server into executing commands on behalf of a remote user, enabling the user to treat the server as a proxy for his or her request and getting access to non-public endpoints, right? So when you look inside the logs, especially the web logs, right? What's up, Peter? Glad you can join us. Just checking on my setup up and just going over. In 6 weeks, I'm gonna start a forensic class on Sunday because we could probably start wrapping up the AWS. So I was just kind of talking about it at a high level, Peter. And once again, the Capital One 2019 SFR server-side request forgery tricks the server into execute commands on its behalf, enabling the user to treat the server as a proxy for his own request and getting access to non-public endpoints. So when you look in the logs, you'll see those type of requests. You will see that user, right, as you look up, right, that user changing its permissions, right? Because now you kind of escalating your permissions on the server. So you should be able to hopefully see that in the logs if we're logging correctly, right? That's one thing we'll talk about too is part of forensics is making sure you log everything in at an appropriate log level, right? So you can see what the user's doing or what the bad guy's doing, right? So AWS meta servers, because the server was hosted in AWS, it accessed the new unique URLs known as the metadata service. Typically, this URL is to provide a HTTP API for node level information, such as node IP address, placement with the AWS network and host name. This endpoint is very useful for services and developers of application in the AWS cloud. But once again, they used it for server-side site request forgery attack, right? So even in AWS, you got to be careful. You got to make sure you got the proper permissions, right? And you don't have too many permissions used to attack it, right? And that kind of shows you a picture of that attack and what it would look like, right? So you got the private network, you got the server request, you got the access key, you got the 169, right? So it get out in the private network, start running commands, right? Then they exfiltrated that data. It's my boss's favorite word, exfiltrated, meaning they stole the data, right? So we'll dig into that a little bit, once again, and track that through the logs, so we can do forensics on it, so we can try to figure out what's actually happening and how they did it. Was Capital One being cheap on their security? I don't think it was cheap. I just think they got another paragraph up. I don't think they were cheap, JM. I just think people underestimate the stuff you got to configure, right? People saying I get a lot of vendors telling me this, and I know that I'm in AWS, so I'm good. No, I mean there's still a lot of components you're responsible for, right? This is called a shared responsibility, right? So I think people underestimate the stuff they still have to do on AWS, right? AWS does a lot of work, but they put a lot of configurations in your hand, and I think people underestimate it. The sad thing is, AWS is good about giving you tools to look at those permissions and giving you recommendation on those permissions, right? So I think it's Capital One not being cheap, underestimating what they need to do security. And I see a lot of big companies doing that, JM. They're not alone. While it may be easy to blame Capital One, once developers for the loss of data, the truth is the IAM role misconfigurations are likely present in nearly every single AWS account. Very few developers take the time to carefully list each permission required. Often a wildcard is used in many and more places than it should be, resulting in unintended access without compromising factors. This misconfiguration is likely to go unnoticed indefinitely. So I think that's more of the problem, JM, is that's why your architects, has to do that, and your security team, and how do you double check those permissions on all those devices, right? Because you got S3 buckets, you got RDSs, you got Linux, you got VMs, you got Windows. Each one of those things have permissions and access control, right? How are you doing it? Are you doing it with permission? Are you doing it with a role? Are you blocking it with firewalls? So there's a lot of security in depth, but you got to make sure you're doing it properly. So I think that's the issue right there, JM. You're doing a good job. Yeah, I appreciate that. It does seem like a lot. Was Equifax? Yeah, I think Equifax was similar to that. Equifax was even worse because one of the things they missed some really basic permission problems, and they didn't have encryption at rest for disk. So Black Heights, they had a couple of basic things they're missing on. That's why Congress was killing them. So yeah, but this was basically on the permission thing. Yeah, you got to get that R back right. That's one of the basic levels. But people get lazy, savage scientists, because we do it by job. This is your job function, so you got to go list up every read write for this part for the database, this part for the Linux, this part for when you're on Windows, right? Because when you're an employee, you touch a lot of different computers and devices and SFTP servers. So you need to go through those once a year at least to make sure those permissions are right. Right. And like you said, people get lazy and say, oh, I'm just gonna do a star and they're good, but you be giving them too much good, right? Um, so I think that's it, cyber scientists. I think that's the part. Let's see what my man Gabe's saying. Many organizations use vendors to set up their digital infrastructure and lose track. Oh, I agree with that, Gabe. Many organizations use vendors to set up their digital infrastructure and lose track of the configuration, right? Um, yeah, because as a shared responsibility with us, the vendor, and us and the cloud vendor, right? So Gabe's 100%, but sometimes the vendor has more expertise than the client, though, Gabe. So you would think the vendor would have a better shot at getting permissions to the granular level than to the most granular level you need, Gabe, than the actual client. Because the vendor, when you buy those products, should have the expertise to lock it down. So I go back and forth on that one, Gabe. I see Capital One try to be tech friendly. They're paperless banking prior to the pandemic. Yeah, that's true. I think everybody's trying to get there, Peter, but it comes with a lot of stuff on that. If the vendor mess up, nobody check. It's a facts. I agree with that. The vendor almost always have more expertise. Yeah, agree. So yeah. So I think the vendor, but like you're right, you got to have the client that paid the vendor go back and be at least a second eyes and have the at least try to get the expertise to be able to view that. I just see clients so lazy, Gabe. They're like, we bought this product, it's super complicated. That's why we pay for support and we trust them. So I go back and forth on that one, Gabe. I always think your in-house security team should handle that, but most people they don't have the resources and the money, so they rely on the vendor. So I think that's one reason they're trying to go to cloud, but it's a shared responsibility, and you got to do your part on that. So I like again, Gabe. I go back and forth on that. Hey, found you from you. Oh, I appreciate that. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, Miss B, she always take good care of me, so I go try. I always support her. Um, so this is I'm sure Gabe's gonna chime in on that. So Mandy, shout out to them. They had a I call it issue with a nation state. They stole some of their red team tools, is what they used to break in and test and do stuff with. They nation state got them. They came out right up front, said they got us. These are our tools we were used. Here's some things to catch up to catch our tools that we use to break in stuff, right? So they gave you Snort and some other files that showed you how to catch and see what their red team tools were doing. So those tools wouldn't be able to break in your organization. So I want to give a shout out to Mandy. I thought that was straight up. I know a lot of companies would have tried to hide it and say it was something else or make some up. They came out straight, and I thought they helped the community a lot by doing that, to be honest. Highly sophisticated state sponsor adversary stole FireEye red team tools. We believe the adversary processed these tools, and we do not know whether the attackers tend to use the stolen tools themselves or publicly disclose them. FireEye is releasing hundreds of countermeasures with this blog post to enable a broader security community to protect themselves against these tools. We have incorporated countermeasures in our FireEye products and share these countermeasures with partners, government agencies to significantly limit the ability of bad actors to exploit these red team tools. Right. So I thought that was straight up. And two, that lets you know from my point, man, if FireEye's getting hit, we ain't got no we ain't got much help. We're gonna be struggling. The thing about it though, it was a nation state. Nation states usually don't deal with smaller companies. What up, Community Solution? One, glad you can join us. So like again, two is I think that made it a word that you need to get on top of your game because if Mandy's getting hit, Man, a lot of people getting hit. So the tools weren't the tools weren't that valuable. The developers, the tools still work at Mandiant. Oh yeah, yeah, Mandiant. So they just burned the old ones. And oh, I agree with you. It wasn't the tools for me. Them stealing the tools, like you said, most of they were using. I looked in there. They were using old hacks from different old machines, Active Directory. If you didn't update your directory from a couple years ago, they were in you. I agree with you. It was just them being an ability to get into Mandiant, right? Because Mandiant is one of the things companies, take security seriously, right? So they're not just the average company you can sneak in and steal something from. That to me, Gabe, that was the issue, right? So not the. I agree with you with the tools, right? I looked in there, I was like, oh, if you ain't updating your Active Directory, you deserve to get hacked, right? So let's read something about the tools and techniques. But Gabe's right, the tools, um, like I said, most of that stuff I thought was hacks from a couple years old that I was surprised was still getting people, to be honest. Red Team is a group of security professionals authorized, organize, and mimic a potential adversary's attack, exploitation capabilities against the enterprise security posture. Our Red Team objective is to improve enterprise cybersecurity by demonstrating the impact of successful attacks and showing the defender, aka me, I'm the blue team guy, how to counter them in an operational environment. We have been forming Red Team assessment for customers around the world for 15 years. In that time, we built up a set of scripts, tools, scanners, and technique to help improve our client's security posture. Unfortunately, these tools were stolen by a highly sophisticated attacker. I agree with that 100%. Every company needs to invest in cybersecurity or have a division devoted for. I agree with you, Peter. The problem with that is, unless you're a big company, most old guys don't think it's going to happen to them. I think people getting more proactive now because they see it more in the news, but those resources are super expensive too. I think that's why people want to move to the cloud. Amazon, they got 1,000 security people just walking around. So right. So just getting in the cloud, I believe, help your security posture because of that. So um, I think it's a money issue a lot of times, Peter. And that's why those guys get paid, man. Those guys get banked because when you get hacked, like we talked about, Capital One, they pay 80 million fine before they fixed anything, right? Their fine was 80 million. Let's see. Most of what the chair team did was living off the land technique. Oh, I agree with that. I agree. And I think that's where we need to get better, especially blue team. Right? Because it just be basic stuff. It's like, dude, your firewall wasn't set up, or your data wasn't encrypted, or you didn't have DLP. I think we miss a lot of basic stuff out here, Gabe. But yeah, facts. I call it living off the land, but it's just because I do a lot of assessments and reviews of very large companies, and I'm just sorely disappointed, man. I tell them to their face, we suck as an industry. Blue team locking them down we suck. We just suck because when you build an app where you try to get VC money, you worried about features. Once you start making money, then you want to add security on the back end, which we know makes it 1,000 times more expensive, right? So we just suck as an industry. So hey Ty, what's going on, man? Glad you could join us. Sound like these black guys need to get the shout out. You get black guys to get them right. Budgets, most companies don't have a budget to afford good. I agree. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I agree with you 100%, Gabe. That's why I think going to cloud gets you a lot and saves you a lot from a cybersecurity investment with a lot of services, which is a shame. But like you said, I see no budgets like you, or very small budgets. And like I said, I work for big state agencies and big companies. And so when you talk about cybersecurity, but then I see major companies with no encryption behind the firewall, right? Because I get to review every vendor software that comes in the state agency, which is cool because I get see some of the coolest techniques, or I get to see no techniques, right? So Found out you're a celebrity. No, I'm far from it. I am not a celebrity, man. Not a celebrity. Um, Back to the red team. The stolen tools range from simple scripts used for automating reconnaissance to entire frameworks that are similar to publicly available technologies such as Cobalt Strike and Metasploit. Many of the red team tools have already been released to the community and already distributed in open source virtual machines. Yeah, once again, shout out to Mandy. They did Snort. They gave a Snort pattern, which is a open source intrusion detection and prevention. It's used by people who are poor with no budget. It's open source, but it's pretty good. A lot of the big tools have Snort embedded, and they put a lot of hooks to make it better. So they gave that file out, and like I said, it helped out immensely. Uh, so like I said, I was just going over that what my class is going to be in the future for that. I dropped the link down if you want to just come up and chop it up. We can, but what's up to Mr. Big Time? But that was my fault. I was testing it yesterday, but I was having technical difficulty with my new software. So yeah, just go check it on the replay. This is the class I'm gonna start teaching in 2 weeks for forensic. I teach an introduction to forensic class. Me and the university arguing, so I probably stopped teaching and just bring it out of YouTube. To be honest, I'm not a following of administrative tasks. I told him I'm my only child. I don't play nice with other people, so so it's all good. So I'll probably bring all that to YouTube. So and Gabe's in the house, so I'm sure me and him gonna chop it up, and he actually probably done a little more forensics than I've done. Like I said, I've done the investigation to figure it out and find it out and figure out who stole it, but the final part of that is taking them to court and trying to get them arrested, right, and get them jail time. Usually for us, it's somebody in a foreign nation that don't respect us and we don't respect them. So like I said, I usually do it more from, like I said, just trying to figure out where the hack was and what happened from it. And two is I don't do that because if you miss it, you could personally probably get sued with forensic. If I pay you a lot of money and you leave a back door open or don't get the bad guy right, that could be a lawsuit, right? So that would be in there. Let's see, Wilton. Miss Bay, yeah, just check the replay. Like I said, it's not the first class. I'm probably gonna have it run. Like tomorrow, we got the AWS Sunday at 3 p.m. So that's about to run out. So then a couple weeks after that, we'll start doing the forensics. I mentioned it, somebody thought it was something they would want to see or something they want to check out, right? Add to your salute, Wally. And two is like I say, I teach introduction, and part of introduction is touching a lot of parts of IT from a security perspective to see which one you like, right? Because when I did the intro, we touched everything from Windows, VM, Active Directory, mobile, databases, right? Because each one of those is part of a security, right? It could be Purple Team, which is the application part, which sits on top of networking. Right, so that's a part. Infrastructure is a part. You got the management policies procedure, right? Start talking about a security program and what that looks like, right? So the budget is low. If their budget is low, they need to use other ways to strengthen their defenses by simply having a better SOP, better protocol. No, that's true, and I think they're trying to start doing that. And I think part of that is moving to a cloud, get it cheaper. And two is once you in the cloud, right? Amazon's going to help you with pieces of that. Tomorrow, as part of the AWS, it's called a well-formed architect, right? So they give you the blueprint of what they think the architecture to look like to be more secure, right? So AWS helps you do that, right? And we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Once again, we got our AWS practitioner class, 3 p.m. And we're going to talk about what does AWS thinks is a well-formed architecture, right? So we're going to go through that, and they talk about their 5 pillars of successes and each one and how they're laid out, right? So we're going to talk about that. Then later on, we're going to start actually building it, right? What's up, game over? So it is tomorrow AWS the security. Tomorrow's AWS. I did the security part. I'm kind of like it's a semester. I did that first semester. Second semester, we were doing AWS. Tomorrow's AWS practitioner. And if you miss some of them, I have a playlist out there with them in order. They don't really stack on each other, to be honest. But there's a playlist for Security Plus, which is Introduction to Cybersecurity. That lecture actually is the intro into taking the Security Plus test. And the one I did with AWS Basic, and I did that cybersecurity. I'm doing it from a cybersecurity perspective. What's up, Gabe? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, man. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. This is my new setup.
What's
I'm
up,
trying
man?
to catch up. I've been struggle
I
streaming. I'm
see.
trying to add a few things.
Same here. Always making changes. Yeah,
Yeah.
let me
So what is
get the
your mandate
output.
since you have intricate knowledge? I know you can't spill the beans. You probably got an NDA. I don't
Uh-huh.
want you to get in trouble or nothing.
I'm sorry. 1 second. Sorry.
No,
Something
you
up with
good.
my
You good.
audio. Come right
I
back.
keep. Now you good. Is Kevin? Is the Cloud Plus worth it? I don't think I've ever heard of
No.
Cloud Plus. To be honest, Kevin, I got to do a little research of the Cloud. My thing is, search can never hurt you, right? It says, can you afford them? Because anything you study is going to help you in this industry. I'm old, and everything I've done on prem in the cloud is a little different. So I got to get the terminology right, the shared responsibility right. But like I said, unless it's a lot of money and they stack on each other. Like I said, I'm taking a practitioner. That's the first one, but I ain't took a cert in 10 years, so I got to get used to studying again. It's different between a professor. I can just pontificate. I don't have to take a test. Now I got to take a test. So that's a
Okay,
different
I'm
ball
back.
game.
Can you hear me now?
I
Oh,
can
sorry
hear
about
you
that.
now.
Okay, perfect. I know you asked me something. It was what you mean, big bros? Man, you my big bro, Black Heights.
Yeah, he my
I'm a
big
young
bro with
guy.
that big check he got. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was your take on Mandy? And I was trying to see if you had a little bit bigger
I
take on
mean,
that. Like,
pretty much they stole tools like I
mhm.
mentioned that aren't really valuable, seeing that the developers are still with the organization. I mean, we literally they stole all that. I think it was like a January or something, somewhere around that. And then I mean, we have fresh new tools like February, so it was like
Oh
nothing.
yeah. Oh, I
And the
agree
fact that we put
because
all the signatures out too is
mhm.
means that if anybody detects them in their environment from like you saying like a blue team perspective, then it's very easy to pick that up because we literally created the tool. So it wasn't a big
Oh,
deal.
facts. Shout out for
Yeah.
them. I guess my thing, the reason I say it's a little deal is, like you
Mhm.
said, those techniques was old, but they were still killing clients with them.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
and that's the thing, right? Red and that's what I was mentioning a little bit in the chat. Like the red team doesn't like it's not you don't do penetration testing and red teaming using a tool. You use a plethora of tools, a plethora of techniques in order to
facts.
get to your goal.
Facts.
So they were taught, I mean, the tools are just one thing. But like I said, like they use like LOL mainly. Like when I did red teams with Mandy, and we did living off the land. So we're using like native
Mhm.
SMB version 1, version 2, WMIC, PowerShell, basic stuff
Nice.
that's on the device like Python. Like it's
Nice.
you
Nice.
don't need to do anything super special to get into most organizations. So
But that's the
yeah,
sad part about it. But yeah, you're
yeah,
100% right. Especially when you say stuff like SMB V1, we know that's not safe. We know
I've
that's
seen it all
in
the
the
time.
clear. It's like I said, it's all the time. So we as companies suck. That's why I said we
Well,
suck.
you know, I think it's come because of such a long time where organizations have not invested in cybersecurity,
Facts.
right?
Facts.
They haven't invested and they still have this antiquated old
Mhm.
infrastructure, and then now they're really it's still out there because it's running business processes. So
100%.
what
It
can you
takes a
do?
while. It takes a while to get rid of
Yeah,
that legacy. People
right.
scared to touch it. We don't really
Yeah,
know what this module does. It's like so.
absolutely,
So yeah. So we
absolutely.
we know what that game is, but so
Right.
that's why I said when you go to Amazon, Azure, or Google, it kind of forces
Hmm.
you to relook at your architecture. It forces you
Hmm.
get a chance. And I seen stuff put out there, and Amazon be like, "Oh, you got 2 weeks to patch this, so we shut this down."
Well,
So,
yeah, man. It's just, but even with the cloud, like you still have to deal with your internal
oh,
stuff, right? Because
facts,
most
facts.
stuff internal to an organization or like an enterprise is typically like intranet, right? So they're still using USBs or not USBs, RJ45. Like it's
Mhm.
still like it's swap as routers and switches all in there, even if you do have
Yeah,
cloud instances. So
100%.
mainly, I think that cloud helps for more of those perimeter defenses. But once
Oh
you're
yeah, yeah.
inside, you're inside.
Oh, I
You
agree.
know,
And I tell people
file
share.
shares and all that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because it's a shared responsibility. So you got to set up the encryption. You pick up as if that's REST. You pick up if you're using
Yeah.
DLP. That's all on you. Like you said.
Hmm.
So if you suck doing it, then you really shitty on the cloud and shitty on
Right.
prem.
Right.
So
And that stuff has to be like you have to be collecting the right logs. You have to be
oh,
monitoring whatever those systems or those critical systems are. Servers, workstations,
oh
laptops, mobile.
man,
You
man.
still got to monitor it even if you're using cloud. So
Oh, facts. I was at a
yeah,
vendor. And they were like, "Yeah, we keep 2 months of logs." I'm like, "What the hell that's gonna do?" Because
man.
because you got to know, I will do work with the IRS. I thought they want you to keep 7 years of logs, man. That's a lot of
Yeah.
space, man.
That's a lot of space. And dwell time for most hacks, I think it went down, but it's somewhere around like 8 months to a year. So that
I thought
dwell
it was a
time is
year and
how
a
long.
month. Yeah, yeah.
It's a year and a month. It's
I
something like
thought it,
that, right?
it might have went down though, but last time I looked, it was a year and a month.
Yeah. So like you keeping logs for 2 months, the dwell time or the time that it takes for or how long hackers are typically in environments is a year and a month.
You tell
You
it.
you're gonna miss something. You're gonna
Right.
miss
The,
something.
the the cool thing though, if you go to
Yeah.
Amazon, it's like Superior Glacier or Super Glacier. Man, they
Okay.
give you like a terabyte for 3 pennies. So I mean, they
Three
make it.
pennies.
It's crazy.
Mm,
The cool thing
mm.
though is I don't know where they're putting it. It takes them 12 hours to get it back. But
I
I'm
don't
like, you
know.
got that shit in Alaska?
Who knows? Like yeah, that's all still a little bit foreign to me because I'm like, I haven't seen cloud as a strong, I guess, competitor for security within environments yet. I haven't seen people. They're
Mhm,
mainly using it in order to access applications,
mhm.
file storage. But I'm like, mm. When I've done engagements, even recently within the last several years or so, I have people are still going the traditional enterprise route with
Yeah, I
some
see.
cloud in there. Hmm.
Yeah, I see that with the medium and the small vendors. Like if you just get started and you trying to get
Okay.
some venture capital, they're not letting you buy servers. They forcing you to pick a cloud vendor. Because if I'm a
Yeah.
VC, I don't. If you fail, I don't want to own that hardware, right? So
Hmm.
that's what I see with middle and small and newer companies because they,
Yeah.
like you said, they just want to be born in the cloud. I heard
Yeah.
you
So
on
a lot of them
Citizen
are using
Lube.
just Google, right?
Yeah,
Like the Google stuff, like Google Drive, right? The Google emails. Those small organizations are using that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I said, but like you said, the big boy got so much legacy and technical debt. It's
Right.
Like I said, it's gonna be probably. I've seen a couple big vendors, like you said, they starting to put their newer stuff in there and letting their
Okay.
legacy die out. But
Hmm.
um, I talked to a large company, a Fortune 500 company. He said it was so much cheaper than his own prem. He
Hmm.
said he really enjoyed it, but he said, I think we talked about this on another channel. He got so much security, it costs the same, but he got so many services and things he think is gonna help his security in the future. So once he
Mm.
got all that, because I did that on thing. They had like 10 services that did security, everything from guard duty,
Hmm.
Macy,
Okay.
inspector. So it's like inspector goes through your logs and kind of helps you, kind of like a poor man's
Sim.
yeah. So I think they're trying to build those in at a cheaper cost and just spread it out
Yeah.
among all their customers. Right.
I think without knowing your environment, the tools without knowing your environment and really where you like without tools without tuning is purposeless. You
Oh,
just
I
got a
agree.
whole bunch of stuff feeding you a whole bunch of stuff. Like
Right.
make it make sense. Like what's the
Right. Right.
intelligence behind you collecting all of that?
Right. But
Right.
I think
So
from them, I agree with you 100%. I think for them, they like, okay, we got it, we get it. Now we
yeah,
can hire somebody like you to help us with it, right? They didn't have
man.
it to begin with. So I think from there, that's what he was telling me. He's like, we got it. But like he said, we got to master it now. At first, they
Yeah.
didn't have it, so they could never master it, right? So,
Yeah. I can
so,
see
so
that. I can see that. It's a step in the right direction,
right, right,
but
right.
I think it needs to be there at the beginning, like at the inception of bringing stuff
Oh,
in. So
it always help at the exception because the longer you do it in the process, the more it's going to cost, right?
yeah, yeah.
So, but yeah, so let me read this quick couple of texts.
Mhm.
Wilton said, I'm doing cybersecurity and computer forensics at a top up degree, struggling a lot with the tools, anti-forensic, FTK, Cellbrite, but I need more support on this. We can talk about it. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not mastered in any of those. I forgot the case tool we use, Wilton. So I have to reach out to a few people. Like I said, most companies don't have forensic talent on staff because it's too
Mm-hmm.
expensive. And realistically, you don't think you're gonna be breached where you need that type of talent. So, um,
Yeah, the thing about the tools is that I wouldn't even say you don't have to master the tools. Being familiar with the tools is important. I work on so for the state of Michigan, it's an organization called MIC3, called the Michigan Cyber Civilian Corps. So there, we're like a group of like voluntary cybersecurity professionals who, in
okay.
the event of the state of Michigan having any type of breaches, they call us as support, and they kind of fund us by training us and everything. So
Okay.
it's pretty cool. So when you're talking about knowing those tools, you don't have to know, like, be experts in them, because typically incident response engagements are always a team. It's literally
Right.
always a team. So like that FTK imager, Incase, Celebrite, like that stuff is it's cool to have a familiarity with it,
Okay.
but just know that you'll always be on a team if you're doing any type of incident response
Oh, facts,
or
facts.
forensics. Yep.
Yeah, that's what we use in the classes. In case the class I teach was, I think their school's
Yeah.
choice was in case. So, besides
Yeah.
from crypto blockchain, what other ways to secure data in the cloud? AI bots being used. For
Hmm.
me, crypto's out in the future. So if you're just talking in the cloud, we're gonna do encryption in transit, TLS 1.2 or above, disk encryption. I'm more block level. So if you're using Oracle and SQL Server, they got transparent data encryption, DLP. So if somebody tries to steal SSN, and my DLP, it can read it. So Peter, you're gonna get up to a lot of things. Blockchain is the future. Most people are not using blockchain in regular business. I'll let Gabe chime in. I've never seen it used in regular business or in any of my clients to do security.
No, never. I haven't seen
So
it.
yeah,
I
I
barely
think
see
that's
cloud.
yeah. I think some Peter, we people talk about it in the manosphere, so it sounds cool, but I've never
Mhm.
seen it in real life. So
No, not yet, at least.
yeah, Ty said, "What's up, Gabe?"
Hey, what's up?
Sparks, peace, BB on family. Thanks for joining us. Let's Ty. In completing a red team assessment, do you manually remove shells from the client system? Yeah.
Mm,
What's
no,
that? I like.
I wouldn't. So as you see here, like one of the tools that they mentioned is Cobalt Strike or Metasploit. They have
Mhm.
modules in those tools that removes your shells for you. So they'll just go
True.
back through wherever you dropped you drop the shell or pop the box, it'll go back through and remove it for you. So a lot of this
Yes.
isn't like a manual in nature.
Well, I'm going to jump off another subject. If you remember, the FBI was closing people's shells when the nation state came. Were you
Yeah.
cool with the FBI going into companies and helping them out? I'm gonna go first. I'm against that. Don't touch my shells. That's my job. Send me an email and tell me I got a problem. I don't want no government agencies on my
Mm,
box without my permission. I'm old and
well,
grumpy. I'll let you chime in on that.
when you say shells, was it shells of the person or the organization that's hacking? Like, are these like
Yeah, I think it
well?
was Russia went through and hacked the box and left the shells in there open.
Yeah,
So the
yeah.
FBI came back and I think Homeland started noticing all these shells in all these companies. So
I mean,
they
the thing,
start closing them.
yeah.
They start
The
closing
thing about
because
it is that that because it's nation state, it turns
yeah,
into like more of a political issue,
facts,
right? If
facts.
you notice in that there's a nation state attack against a commercial organization on U.S. land,
Mhm.
I don't have so much of a problem with it. I hear you, but
Right, right.
I mean, if it's malicious, they're noticing that it's talking through some
Yeah,
type
yeah,
of
facts, facts.
C2 channel
Right,
on
right, right.
the net. I guess.
I
Yeah,
know
I
I
don't
agree
have too
with you.
much of an issue. Yeah,
Nah, I'm old. I get overzealous about everything, man. I want to attack
yeah.
everybody, man. That's
No,
me. So
no, it's all good.
I'm so
Yeah.
overzealous. So, like I
Hmm.
said, just shoot me an email. But like you said, now it's a nation state, so they feel like they have to do something because foreign nationals are stealing all our intellectual properties from companies,
Yeah,
right? Because all these open shells, so they think they're helping too. So yeah, so
yeah.
I see that point too.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm way past my bedtime, man. I just decided to do
Oh, you about to go to
something.
bed?
Nah, I'm
Okay.
good. I'm gonna be up for a minute. Um, I was gonna reach out to you, and I was gonna do it's called a well-formed architect in AWS, and they
Okay.
tell like you talking about where all your logs should be. Then I was gonna do a tabletop walkthrough and be like, okay, here, how would you attack this well-formed architecture?
Hmm.
Because I'm working on my data flow diagrams and stuff to
Sure.
start doing that.
It's
So we
like some
probably
threat modeling type of thing, like a
yeah, that's
tabletop
actually
threat
what it's
threat
going to
model.
be. That's exactly
Yeah.
what it's going to be a threat model. Because I think a lot of people never seen that, and that'll be a good way to start.
Yeah, it's
'Cause
super
you,
practical. Yeah.
yeah. Two is you keep telling me stop talking about it, so I got to do something.
Man, I'm down, man. Just let me know
So yeah,
when.
yeah. It'd probably be in 3 weeks. Cause like I said, I'm working because I'm doing a AWS class practitioner. They talking about the well-formed architect. So that let me.
Yeah.
So I think it let me get my load balancers, VPC, three-tier network, and how we collecting the logs, and just have all that on a diagram. And like you said, talk
Hmm.
about a high-level threat model. Then we can just kind of go back and forth with what that will look like. And people can see that stuff. I mean, like you said, it's super
Yeah.
practical. And I do it for two reasons. I got to do that from cybersecurity part, and I got to do that for Coop and DR. Right. So if something happens, are we going to flow down the DR? If this gets shut
Yeah.
down, what businesses are we going to run in disaster recovery? So I do it
Hmm.
for two reasons.
I can see that.
Well, let me read these couple things. How do I roll in your course? It's not a you show up at Sunday at 3 p.m. It's just an AWS practitioner. If not, they're all in there. It's not enrollment. It's just a free course. I'm doing it as a lecture, Devin. I actually have a playlist, and you can go back and look at them. I have a introduction to cybersecurity, which is for Security Plus, and I'm doing an
Hmm.
AWS practitioner. So, like we were talking about, I got to get better at the cloud. So I just decided to make it a class and talk about it. That way, I'm doing it while I'm studying. So yeah, just check me out tomorrow. I take a little break from the football game for about an hour. If not, just catch the replay and kind of like this. I bring people up and we'll talk about. Like I said, I'm um, like me and Gabe talking about trying to learn all those cloud services is a monster, and each one's a little different.
Hmm.
And what part of cybersecurity they're helping. So that's why I did it. What's up, Destination Dad? With the forensics tool and anti, which is the best way to get familiar with them as a student? Are there groups to join from practices? I just use them kind of class. What's your take on that, Gabe?
I'm searching for something right
Okay,
now. I know somebody. You ever heard of a dude named Chris Sanders before?
I have not.
Chris Sanders. He has a whole like website and like company. It's called Applied Network Defense.
Okay.
He also wrote a couple of books for No Starch. I know one was like intrusion detection. Actually, I think I have it here. Intrusion
Yeah, I've
detection
heard of the no
honeypots.
starch. I'm not familiar.
Yeah,
I'm familiar with the no starch.
I think it's one is called intrusion detection honeypots. He does like he has two versions of practical packet analysis
Okay.
and applied network. I'm looking at his website to see if he has any classes.
Okay.
So just give me a second. I'm just gonna find it
You
right
find I'm gonna
now
keep
as you're
reading
going
while
through
you.
it. Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep reading while you find that for my man Wilton. As part of cybersecurity, would you consider physical data storage on a physical location in addition to the cloud? As part of oh yeah, uh, yeah. If on prem, I consider that on prem or off prem, or if you can buy another services, yeah, that's part of cybersecurity. Any place where the data can end up is part of cybersecurity because cybersecurity should sign off on that, right? Because if you're taking it off prem or off cloud, both of those we control. The question is, why are you doing it? Is it PI, FTI? Is it health data? So yeah, Peter, that's definitely going to be part of cybersecurity. The only time I would let somebody do that off is our backup tapes. I like our backup tapes off site, offline. Right. One guy hacked a financial company. They had their DR site. They didn't have any physical tape, so he dropped both of their sites when they didn't pay the crypto. So the financial company had to go out of business because they didn't have their data anywhere. So I'm old. I want my stuff offsite in a bank vault. I'm from the 80s, right? So a lot of people think that's overkill, but if your DR site's connected to your regular site, the hacker can get to it, right? So
Yeah.
there's a few things I'm gonna have off site. So
Yeah, I just threw a website there in the chat,
in the
and
back
it's
chat.
from So, have you ever heard of Black Hills Information
Yeah, I listen
Security?
to I listen to their site. I'm trying to get on their
Dope.
YouTube. I don't
Yeah,
see
so
them.
they have a whole
Oh,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, you good. I thought you put in the back chat. You put it in the regular. No, you good. You
Yep.
good.
So they partner with this organization, the Anti-Siphon InfoSec Training. So I just
Hmm.
put the link there for the Anti-Siphon, and they have like a whole bunch of affordable trainings. And I think they have some stuff on forensics in there. And some of their classes like can range from like it can be like a pay anything to
Yeah,
like I think 500 is the most expensive one.
I
But
think
I
that.
see a Linux. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you talking about because the guy I'm looking there. He dropped the link. They were taking that thing as pay as much as you can for. I think
Yep.
it's their intro course. Is that it? Because it was the one for as low as $25. I
Listen,
think the regular price was.
it's a whole bunch of them in there. So I
That's
don't even
probably.
know which one exactly,
No,
but
that's cool.
I'm
That's cool.
seeing some forensics classes, some defending classes. That's probably along the lines of what you're looking for. Yeah, Wilton. So yeah, I just threw it in the chat.
Yeah,
So
shout
go
out.
ahead.
Shout out to Destination Dad, go Eagles. I'm in Indiana, so we hanging on by the thread, go Colts. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I actually put that in my community tab. But check my community tab. Will they have Black Hills guy? It's probably in there, but he had one for entry level, and it could actually be free.
Yeah.
So they had some stuff where you had to fill out a form, and some of it was free. So yeah, look at my community tab, and Gabe put that in there too.
And if you sign up for their newsletter, they'll send you like when they're doing free courses all the time. So you might just they'll send you a Zoom link where they're doing it live, and
Okay.
it's literally free. So I
Yeah,
get those all the time if you sign up for their newsletter for Black Hills Information
yeah.
Security.
And those guys are
Yeah.
super good. I listen to their YouTube kind of like podcast.
Hmm.
I think it comes on every day. It comes on a lot. It comes on
I
my
think so. Yeah.
so
They're
they've
heavy
been
with it, man. Like
oh,
they always putting out new stuff. Yep.
and they coming in deep. It'd be like 10 people on their on their YouTube live. It'd be
Yeah.
deep. They come deep. So Jam talks about there's a try hack me forensic path on there. I know you
Yep.
and shout out to my man Citizen Lou was chopping it up. Then he went
Yeah.
solo. I guess you gave him confidence. Citizen Lou went
I guess
solo.
so.
So yeah, which is cool. I like seeing my man step up.
Yeah, I got a couple I'm dropping on mine when the channel launches. So yeah,
Yeah,
kind of some
Hey,
entry level, like more type of entry level stuff.
that's cool. Let me
Hmm.
know. I'll come over and chop it up. Bring my 1100 with me.
For sure.
So that's Gabe link right there, just showing it. My man William said thanks. Yeah, check out my community card. Shout out to the panel. Yeah, so I'm trying to think what else that I want to touch on. I think so. Yeah,
Hmm.
we set up the tabletop. Most people don't even know what that is, so I'm trying to get them used to those big company government terms. We probably just use them like water a lot.
Yeah.
Some of my what you would appreciate. Some people on my channel said, especially with me and you together, we talking Chinese. So I'm trying to
Really?
decipher that. Yeah, because we just use it every day, and especially with me and you get together, we just talking abbreviations, man.
Hmm.
So I like I gotta bring. I believe Gabe when I see it. Come on, where your course at, Keep It Techie? You've been talking about a course longer than I've been talking. I thought. Shout out to Keep It Techie. I always show him love.
Man,
He
you
brought
don't
me into
listen. It's already happening. I don't know. I don't know what to tell
getting there,
you.
getting there. But nah, so I think that's all I have for tonight, Gabe. I just want to touch
Okay.
on a few things. See what the chat got any more for us. Like I said, I'm working on that threat model because I do diagrams all day at work. So coming up with those diagrams would be easier than me setting it up first on AWS
Hmm.
because I was setting up the VPC and setting up those routes and those CIDR. I'm like, oh my God, I'm rusty. I don't do networking like that anymore. I got to say it twice. I don't be doing CIDR blocks like that anymore.
Hmm.
Oh man, when you starting your channel?
Before the end of July.
Okay, that's cool. I would just assume you had one because I just saw you on everybody else's
No,
panel and chat, man. I just assumed you had one.
no, man. I've been doing these interviews and everything for years. I mean, probably. I think my first interview was up there on Dewan's. Maybe, man. I think
Okay.
that was from 2016 or something.
Oh
Like it
wow.
was a long time. Yeah.
I
So
just got here, man. I just got here
yeah.
probably 20. November 2020 when I started building mine. I said
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to take a year to get monetized. I'm super close, and Keep It Tech was the first one to kind of invite me up to his panel because I was helping in his
Mm-hmm.
chat. And I kind of say he introduced me to the manosphere, and I was off and running. Then your name came up, then Tech G, then Dewan, Kev IT, and I just kind of started meeting everybody. I'm kind of
Yeah.
crazy too. I got a big personality, so
No, it's
it
all
was
good.
all good. So
Yeah.
just
No, but
messing with game.
I've just been taking my time. Yep.
No, that's the
And
way to
plus
do it.
time in general. Like when I was working for Mandate, man, I was always on a different engagement. Like I
Yeah, I can.
mentioned, like I was doing the Colonial IR, and that was like, I mean, it literally, like I got the call on Friday to join the team, and it was like for maybe about 3 months after that, it was just every day, weekend, the incident response bridge was up, and we were always doing some type of task, like really responded, even to the point where it came to like giving input for re-architecting the environment, putting up additional defenses. Like it's such a time-consuming
Oh yeah.
thing, and then also doing engagements and also running things. So it was just just haven't had the time until I came over here to Accenture, and it's like, okay, bigger
Yeah.
organization, more
Yeah.
hands. So you got a lot more time to do other things outside of work. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I just lucky because I've been at engagement for it's ending in June, but I was on it for 10 years. And I just
Mm,
advise people now because I can do it with my eyes closed. So,
yeah.
I'd be having a little more free time with the pandemic. I'm like, I think I'm gonna start me a channel, man.
Yeah.
I came here to help young people. I'm old. So I was like, give them some
Hmm.
game for the federal level because we deal with federal systems and that's a little different in commercial. I eat well on federal systems. I don't work
Hmm.
for the feds. I work at a consulting company. I feel like because I worked at DOD for 11 and I was at the state
Right.
Department of Revenue for 10 years. So,
Mm, I see.
so, so yeah, so that's kind of my expertise. Like you said, the STIGs and all that, and
Man,
CIS and
I'll
Pub
never do another.
1075.
I'll never do another stig. No
Man, you need
more
them STIGs, man.
RMF.
Oh, shout out
Nothing
to the
at all.
RMF, man. You can eat
No,
good on that in the government, man. You can eat well on that in the government, man.
man. It's just not. Well, I don't know. Listen. It might be interesting to you, but I can't. I don't find it's nothing interesting, man. It's just not
No,
interesting to me.
what made it kind of interesting for
Hmm.
me, and I agree with you on that, right? Is I was doing the actual web admin setup and the
Hmm.
Tomcat Apache setup connected to the Oracle database. So I actually like taking the STIG and applying it because the STIG
Yeah.
tell you exactly what the check's for. Since I was doing it in real life, I'm like, man, I've been doing that check for 5 years and I ain't never really knew what it was.
Right.
I thought I
Yeah.
knew, but when you start reading that deep, like you said, though, it's boring as hell. But I'm kind of weird like that. I was like, you just kind of
Hmm.
mastering it. Now I'm in meetings talking crazy to people.
Man. Mm. I ain't like it.
No, it's a
Yeah.
special animal for that. Like I said, I'll
Yeah,
be
because I was
reading.
mainly doing it for like, so I was a security architect for an organization, and
Mhm.
like I literally was going through the STIG, changing the configurations, re-architecting things. But then I would see like the STIG at times would be outdated to what. So like
Facts.
these were like Cisco routers and switches for
Mm-hmm,
this
mm-hmm.
for this one STIG that I was doing. And I'm like, man, like this is not up to date to what is there
No, I
to what's in
agree.
the
I agree.
field. So I'm going between STIGs to actual Cisco documentation
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and going in and configuring, changing things on the diagram. Like it
The
was
the
just
cool
way too much.
the
I
cool
was like,
thing
this
though
is
is
purpose.
you understand it because you at a high level. Most people I
Hmm.
talk to Cisco when I ask them what the security is, they can't tell me. Right. Some of it's
Yeah.
best practices, but they just kind of setting these stuff up off of defaults. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, you can't do that, man. So you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So it's easy for me to say, at least do these. Now, some of them
Yeah.
are gonna be outdated, but for me, that's a good baseline because I'm
Hmm.
compliant. See,
Yeah.
I trust you enough. I like, okay, Gabe got it. I'll come and do some stuff. If I find some discrepancies, we can talk about them. And okay,
Hmm.
you better than Stig. We can mark it up and keep going. Most people can't do that though, Gabe. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
what's your baseline? I don't know. I'm like, dude, because like we
And a
talked
lot
about,
of
you
and that's
can't
why a
pay
lot
those
of yeah.
resources.
But that's why a lot of times, like you mentioned, right? The baselines of people don't really know what's going on. They're getting a lot of like brand new people, like people who, and there's nothing wrong with government folk, but a lot of times government folk who are doing security work, they're like brand new to the field. So they're
Facts.
stigging, they're given these responsibilities, they're hardening these systems, they're going over to God, but they're not understanding that there's more information out there,
All facts.
or they don't really have experience with the technology in order
I
to
agree.
really harden this device. They're just going based upon the stig.
Right.
And sometimes they can put lockout features. Like there's one analyst that had put all these locked out features, and she's like, it was a part of the stig. I'm like, but you gotta know the technology.
Mhm.
Like, how is the analyst, or how are people actually engaging with the technology, rather than you just following a guide to say this is what you need to do. And ever since that started me getting turned off to sticks. But anyway.
Yeah. But I agree with my thing though is at
Mhm.
least they were following something.
Man,
But I understand. But I
that
see people
following
follow
something made
nothing.
me redo a lot of stuff, and I'm like, man, this
I feel.
is
But I
time consuming.
yeah, I've seen people
Yeah.
brand new and have no idea what they're doing, but
No idea,
somehow they got this company. So I'm like, so,
because it's yeah, man.
so I'm with you.
Anyway,
I'm with you because I was
I ain't trying to diss nobody. I ain't trying to diss
nah, I
no
feel.
no.
Nah, because
But
I
yeah,
was going over some sticks last week. They were cat ones. I'm like, these aren't category ones.
It-
So I'm like, so
yes,
so I'm trying. So I'm really supposed to tell this vendor, you got to do this, right? Cat one, she's
yeah,
supposed to do in 30 days. I didn't do
every
that because
single
I'm
thing.
like you. I read it. I'm like, that shit don't make no sense. You good?
Yeah,
I'm changing it to a cat two because I trust me. I'm like, this cat two, you got next year. Give me a compensating control. Let's keep rolling. So
yeah.
so
People
yeah. So I'm
don't
with
even
you.
look for and that's the thing. Like, you got to understand the technology in order to understand how to, like, when to apply a compensating control and
Right,
which
right,
one would apply to this particular device.
right.
Right.
Facts, right.
And sometimes people just use the SCAP tool and just try to automate that. I mean, and they just like, okay, check, 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 check. I'm like, yo, like, no,
I,
no.
I'm I'm doing a tech
Yeah.
about compliance,
Yeah.
NIST. I put the sticks in there in the cloud. That's the first thing I'm gonna say in the talk is
Yeah.
security does not equal compliance, and compliance don't mean
No.
you're 100% secure. They're two
Facts.
different things, right? So
Yeah, man.
that's what I'm starting off my talk. So what's your take on the year of
What's that?
AI, cybersecurity, and cloud computing? I highlighted it.
Is that 2022?
Yeah,
I don't
2022.
know. I think cloud computing, but AI, I don't know too. I don't think that's going to be widely adopted. We'll
No.
see.
I think
Um,
I think there's a few things in AWS building into their services that does that for you. But like you
mhm.
said, I don't think it's some people going to be doing, and it's not a ton
No,
of it.
no, at least not from what I'm seeing.
No, it's had a time. Like you said, I think
There might be more of that in big tech, right? When it's like brand new um, type of technologies being um, developed. So they might utilize AI and machine learning, but a wide adoption. Most organizations are still taking the traditional, you
oh,
know, the way that they set up their infrastructure and the
yeah,
technologies they use. So
yeah. Like we were talking about, we barely getting budgets, so we
yeah,
definitely ain't get AI yet. So
right.
Devin Freeman, what is a good way to get into compliance? What skills or search are needed? Security plus some cloud certs. I have
Man,
been obtained.
I think all you need is a security plus and a clearance, and you just start applying. That's the that's
No,
it.
you're right. I think
No,
you get the CYSA. I think is a more that
see,
does the CYSA because they do more policy, right? I'm kind of anti-policy almost, but the management part, you got policies, you got
hmm
procedures, then in there you got the DR configuration management coop on the management side, right? So I think the
yeah,
CYSA help, but the Gabe is correct. The industry so thin, and they're looking for so many people. If you got security plus and read the
yeah.
part of the RMF and read a little bit about the NIST 800-53,
That's all.
so you can get the terminology down. I'm actually thinking about creating a class for that, another lecturing
hmm
class for that, Dev, because I think that's an easy way for people to get into security because they need
Well, he's
bodies to interview
compliance, right?
people.
He's
Yeah, yeah,
saying compliance. So I'm thinking like GRC, right? You just
yeah.
doing this and
GRC.
this and this RMF, right? And this,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, yeah. Sorry, go
So
ahead.
what I always add a little bit to that, the compliance, like are you doing HIPAA, FERPA, FISMA
Hmm.
for DOD? But like you said, that's kind of really overkill. But
Yeah.
especially as a junior, you're really just gonna get Gabe is the Cisco guy. You're gonna give him the Stigs and get him back.
No, I was. I'm not doing none of
I know, I'm
that.
giving you a hard time.
Man, I
So
don't
that's
do
what
none
you
of
would do,
that.
because really you
Hmm.
reaching out to the SME and compliance, right? And you checking
Yeah.
the box, right? So let's be clear what we said before. Compliance ain't really always security, right? Some of
No.
those are just check box to make the government feel better, right?
Right.
So I think if you take the Security Plus, maybe checking the CYSA, this dude I kind of hang out with named Simply Cyber. He's thinking about doing a GRC course. I'm just thinking about doing lectures on compliance, and I do that. Once again, I got a playlist of different compliance so you can get comfortable with those terms. HIPAA, FERPA, FISMA for DoD,
Yeah.
STIGs are part of that. Like you said, NIST, RMF. I think that's
Yeah.
37. I think.
Yeah. And then that list, right? What is that? SF? No. What's that website or the type of certifications that you need for certain roles?
Oh, the
It's a
8350 or
a
8340.
is it 8350 or
I
83?
It's 8340 or 50. I should know that.
Mm. Anyway, here I'm googling now.
That's cool. Keep it tech. You said, I feel slow listening as you guys talk about this. Cat one versus cat two. That's that
Yeah,
compliance life, man. That's compliance
yeah.
life. Man.
It's 8570. DOD
Now,
8570.
I got to do better. I was throwing out all the wrong numbers.
No, you're good.
Yeah, the 8570. So, and two is I got to get my Security Plus expired. I'm thinking about going back to DOD. So, I probably do a
Hmm.
class because I think I took the 501. I think the 602 is out for Security Plus. So, I probably
Yeah.
start doing lectures for the 602
Yep.
after we do the forensics, probably in about 4 months. I'll take
Okay.
that.
Yeah, I just threw it in the chat. The name of the
Okay.
oh
I
that's
see that.
oh, that's long. Yeah, let me find a shorter.
Okay.
Well, anyway, I think it should be good.
Now that's you. Keep it tech. I assume you're talking about the categories for vulnerabilities in the STIG. Yeah, but
Yeah.
even if you look at CIS or schisms for IRS, they all have those
Yeah.
categories or different levels. Schisms for IRS, I think they got 5 different levels. So I think CIS had 4, but it's all the same thing. So
Yeah. Just different. Yeah. Like I said, it's like so I don't think it's different categories for vulnerabilities, but it's different classifications of systems. And based
facts.
upon that classification, you have to implement a certain number of controls or do some type of specific hardening for those
Mm-hmm.
devices. So
True.
it's to lessen the vulnerabilities, but it's more that cat is a categorization of the type of system within government
Facts.
environments. Yeah,
So he put the link in the chat.
yeah.
Peter got a good question. Quantum computing will help accelerate the analysis of databases being stored. Is
Hmm.
that from a cybersecurity perspective? Easy to hack. For us, quantum computers are a problem because you can hack any key with a quantum computer in
Right.
probably 3 or 4 weeks at the most.
Hmm.
That's what I think of quantum computing from a cybersecurity perspective. I think a length of keys and how easy it is to hack the version of those
Hmm.
keys. So, what's your take on that, Gabe?
I don't know. I don't have a take on that one.
I'm cool with that one too. Like,
Yeah.
we need you to clarify that a little more. Oh, you're
Yeah.
welcome, David. Thanks for the
Yeah.
knowledge,
It's not
man.
like it's a bad term or anything, but it's like
Come on.
I think that we've been hearing these like at times there's like these buzzwords in tech, right? Quantum computing, AI, machine learning, cloud, right? I don't think that they're bad words or anything, but a lot of times when you look at from a practitioner's perspective, a lot of this hasn't been adopted yet, and it's not bad
Right.
to get some understanding or some knowledge in it. But I guess we just hear a lot of the buzzwords
Yeah.
within tech, but we haven't seen it so much in the field. So
Right.
I think that's more of why I don't have a because I haven't seen it, right? I haven't been dealing with the technology, so I really don't have too much to say about it. Yep.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that's one thing we need to get away from. I think we over buzzwords and these Star
Hmm.
Trek terms. I'm like, dude, can we block and tackle? Can we get a 3-tier network with decent hardening, with some
Yeah.
DLP, with some MFA, something.
with some
So we,
VLAN segmentation, with some strong passwords, like just basic stuff.
right.
Yeah,
So we talking quantum and that. Then you in AWS and your database is open up to the internet. It's like, so can we, right. So I'm just trying to get back to some basic security ground floor. Let's work our way up.
And I think that goes back to your point, even the point about the tools, right, that were stolen from Mandiant. Much of what we did as a red team or as red teams is that we would mimic the activities, which you call TTPs, right? Techniques, tactics, and procedures. We would mimic the techniques, tactics, and procedures of what the bad guys were doing. So the bad guys weren't using quantum computing or machine learning or artificial intelligence. They were using PowerShell. They were using Python. They were using RDP, like old remote desktop protocol. They were going after vulnerable web applications using SQL injection, just very basic things that they were using. So a lot of times when we are in the field, right, you're doing red teaming or penetration testing, we're mimicking what's actually being done. And when you look at what's being done, it's not AI, it's not machine learning, it's not all that stuff. So, yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that because you were at the big company. We think we swore fishing or Star Trekking, like you say. You think it's just something, and that's why I tell people, I'm like, we be getting killed on some basic stuff, man.
Right.
That's why I say we suck as an industry. I keep saying we getting killed on basic stuff. Your 6-year-old should be doing, man. It's like,
so that's basic stuff.
So then once this, like, that's why I try at least say the STIS, because at least the STIS gonna cover the basic stuff, man. That's why I keep promoting them. And I agree with you. Some we got to look at them because they're outdated, but we ain't getting the outdated stuff covered yet.
No,
so
even when you were looking at like that try hack me thing that I did with Lou, right, with Citizen Lou, we were looking at a web application and we were doing what you call directory transversal. So it's like each directory or each web page on a web application, it has like a slash and then the name of it, slash the name of it. I mean, you don't know how many times I've used that during a penetration test and just looking at what juicy information I can find from different web applications that are exposed to the internet. And the thing about it is that the bad guys are doing it too. They're doing the exact same thing. Yeah. They're just doing basic stuff by just looking at the web directories.
That's a cool thing. One of the AWS features, that's what it did. It crawled your website, and if it looked like a password or a key or something, it would put it out because junior programmers are hard coding shit in the app. It's like, dude, what are y'all doing, man?
They're not looking at security. They're looking at functionality over security.
Features, trying to get them done so they can get more features out. So they actually had an AWS fit, and it goes through there and crawls your app and helps you with that because they see it so much now. AWS is like, we charge us 2 cents an hour and you can use this, and when your page is out there at night, it just batch them and run through them all, and if it sees something funny, it'll send an email to your security team.
And that's the thing, right? When people are asking how to get in security, how to get the basics, start with the basics. Just a very basic understanding of security principles. So yeah.
That is incorrect, Peter. The SOP should take care of basic security vulnerability. That is incorrect because when you hire junior people, they don't even know what the SOP is, man. So that's more of a training issue and the maturity of your organization. And two is a lot of people start taking shortcuts. And we struggle, which I don't have time, is application security is really it's its own team, and it's kind of its own specialty because you got to understand programming at a small site to look at JSPs, break it authentication. When your JDBC is connected to the database, what does all that traffic look like? You got to understand web tier, app tier, database, those calls, how those kind of app works at a high level, Peter. So that's a different skill. So you can sign the SOP, but if you suck in any one of those areas, it's not gonna matter.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, just as like I know you were talking about Apache Tomcat, right? The programming language that deals with Apache web services is PHP, right? Is there an uploading function on that website where I can upload a malicious reverse shell for like just basic stuff, right? Like user input. Can I download something? Where does the data go once I put something into a field? Can somebody touch the backend SQL database or something, right?
Yeah.
Just that basic stuff, but it's not there, and just like you said, it's not typically covered in the SOP.
Yeah. And the thing I get
Mhm.
mad is people when people upload stuff or save stuff, I tell them put it in the database in the blob because you can't execute it. If you save
Mhm.
it to the disk, you can execute it. Now
Yeah.
you might try to change the permissions on it, but if
Mhm.
I get to it and I escalate it, I can change those permissions back. So I
Mhm.
make people when they insert it, I want it straight in the database in the blob because if it's in
Yeah.
the database, you can't execute it, right?
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
foreign. People call me that's old. No, dude, that's
Yeah.
security. So
That's
now
security, right?
I'm arguing with the development team. So
Mhm.
let me read
And
James real quick.
you
I'm
go ahead.
thinking of some entry level Python cert to understand better programming before I get into cert. Yeah, I will pick a programming language,
Sure.
Python. I'm a Java guy. There's something C sharp. There's a lot of programming languages. For me, since
Mhm.
I'm an old guy, I like people before they get into cybersecurity to have a programming language and be competent. Why?
Yeah.
That's the first thing you're going to attack is the web app. So you need an understanding of how to secure that. That's going to
Oh,
teach
yeah.
you 3-tier HTTPS, using a web server apps. You're going to be doing insert updates and database for SQL
Right.
injection. So I definitely, from my standpoint, Jam, I think that's a good thing. What's your take on that, Gabe?
Yeah, no, yeah, right there. I think Python is cool. I think it can be valuable, but I don't think it's like a prerequisite to you getting into cybersecurity.
No, 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 no. That's
Yeah,
my
but it's good.
bigotry. I
Yeah,
put that out
yeah,
there. For
yeah,
me, I'm an old school guy because when I did it, you couldn't be in cybersecurity. You had to be a programmer, network, work your way up to an SN and a little more, then get in cybersecurity. People
yeah,
just didn't go in cyber. Now you can get a cert and get in, right? I'm old
yeah,
and grumpy. I'm finally getting sold into that. So
yeah. I
so
think
I'm
networking is. I think Python is cool, but a lot of times I think like networking,
all facts.
understanding like IP addresses,
Oh
MAC
yeah,
addresses, or some of the backbones of the internet, such as like things like DNS or
all facts.
HTTP, because that's how like organizations are being infiltrated and hacked.
All facts.
Stuff
Oh,
touching the internet that
all
is
facts.
exposed to the public that just
Oh
gives
well.
a attack vector
Right.
into your environment or into your system.
Yeah.
So I think
So my thing
networking.
is,
Yep.
yeah, networking or programming, either one of
Yep.
those. But two, like the thing you said, segmenting VLAN subnets, so you can get separations and control your attack surface and the traffic and the traffic coming into your network, right? That's all
Hmm.
networking. And so,
Yeah.
oh, we can do that for you. I'm speaking for Gabe. We can help you out at your
I
website.
just sent him a
I just
message
got
on Facebook now.
oh,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't see read that. I just got hacked. Yeah, man, we can check it out. Between me and
Yeah.
Gabe, we can check you out, man. We
Hmm.
both look at it. I'm up for it. Gotta be careful out in these cyber streets, man.
I think if anything, I would
Python,
need
baby.
need permission before anything else.
Oh
You got to
yeah, I
get
gotta
some
hang
written
out with
permission.
you. Yeah, I need to hang out with you more, man.
Yeah.
Security people, we just jump in
Yeah.
there, man. I don't do red team. We just jump in
No.
there.
I do it from time to time. Like I'll apply to like a Upwork
Oh
job
yeah.
posting. Somebody like I just applied to one. Somebody wanted someone to like hack their small office or something to and discover vulnerabilities. I'm like, cool. So I just applied for that a minute ago. But yeah, I've done those things all the time.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I get. I'm about to get on Upworks too. I told you that a lot of
yeah,
people in Silicon Valley they're so smart they think they're gonna do DoD work with no paperwork. I'm like, dude, you
yeah.
need a system security plan at least, right? They
Mm-hmm.
jump in there. Let's
Something.
see, Kevin Lopez. Is it more important to learn Linux first or programming first? Uh, I would go ooh, probably. I would go Linux because hell, if my app
Mm-hmm.
running on Linux, I at least gotta have basic understanding of Linux before I
Yeah.
go. Um, I would because I do Java, so I put my Java on Linux, so I at least gotta know how to CD, VI, uh, take a tar file and untar it, so I can at least run my app. So I would go, Kevin. I would go Linux first.
Yeah, I would say if you're going more offensive, like if you're trying to do pen testing or red teaming or ethical hacking, right? I would say Linux first for sure because the most popular operating system for penetration testing is a Linux flavor
Oh,
called Kali Linux. So I
facts,
would say
facts.
Linux.
I'm gonna start adding that into one of my classes. Start doing some Kali Linux
Cali.
exercise. Yeah, because this is
Oh,
what we
dope.
do in our class. Hell, they run themselves pretty much.
Yeah,
You just got to hit the button now. So,
man, I done
uh,
took all my Kali Linux tools, like stuff like Nmap and
mhm.
Netcat and all that, and I just threw it on my Mac, man. I'm running it back right
Right,
now, so
right, facts,
so
facts.
I can do a whole bunch just straight from
Right.
my Mac machine.
Then too, as a I'm more of a blue team guy. I'm gonna do Nmap and Wireshark because I'm trying to figure out if I left any of my ports open. Right. I'm
Hmm.
trying to
See if
follow
something
my
beaconing. Yep.
yeah, and I'm trying to figure out are my packets going to network what they should be, right? If I'm doing a web
Hmm.
service call with XML payload, right? I want that protocol on anything that I will let through my firewall, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's when you use those type of to help you figure that out. Peter, is company policies and procedure to help with implementation of basic security protocol?
Mm.
No. I do a ton of policies. When you do policies, you talking at a high level, Peter. I usually set a
Yeah.
policy. We're going to secure the database, right? Then how you secure it, you could do encryption, TDE, firewalls, right? I don't want to in my policy. I don't want to dictate implementation procedures to my technical team because, like Gabe said, it changes so often, right? I don't want to get out of date. So my policy says
Hmm.
we need to secure it now, right? Now that could be encryption, firewall. The implementation would kind of be in your procedures, but still, I don't want to handcuff my team. Now I could say if we're doing TLS, it's got to be 1.2 or higher, but they could use HTTPS, they could use VPN tunnel, right? So there's myriad ways to do it. So I
Yeah.
don't really usually tell them how to do it, Peter, in my policy or procedure. Now, when we
Yep.
get to their implementations, details of how we do it in the system security plan, that's where that information will be. How do they actually do it, and what do they recommend, and how do they actually build an AWS Azure on-prem? That'll be in the system security plan, Peter. What's your take on that, Gabe?
Yeah, I mean, I
Oh,
think I absolutely agree with you. I think that implementation piece isn't done with policies and procedure, but rather practitioners, people who are touching the
right,
technologies and doing so.
right.
Just like you said, it's from a high level. So
But I've seen people put that in policy, and I always tell them take it out, but
yeah.
because because now I'm hamstrung on my team, right? I'm
Hmm.
relying on their SME expertise, right? So if I tell you I need this protected, right, then it's up to you how we protect it. Then once again, if we're doing compliance, STIG, DOD, CIS, that'll
Yeah.
help us on how the implementation though. And like Gabe said, some of that's outdated, so we still got to talk about compensating controls. That's just a guideline to
Hmm.
get us started, Peter. No love for
Yeah.
Parrot, respect to Cali. I never really used Parrot. I teach Cali, so
It's the
I
same.
okay. You
Why?
do more of that than I do, so
It's the same as Cali. It's like, I don't know, using two different brands of the same
right.
screwdriver.
Facts,
Like,
facts.
yeah, like why?
Nah, I feel you. I feel you.
Hmm.
Let's
And
see,
plus,
Gabe.
Cali gets updated a lot more. So that was towards Wilton's question about
Okay.
setting up Security Onion and
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Security Onion. Those guys, like, they are so on top of like uploading their,
There.
like, updating their documentation. They're putting out new stuff all the time, and they have that. I think the class is called Security Onion 2 Essentials, and they have a
Mhm.
whole YouTube playlist on how to do it.
I need
So
to check
I
on that,
would,
man. We talk about it at work, but
yeah,
like you said, we struggling with the basics, man. So
yeah,
a lot of times, like I said, I think security I ain't so on top of it. Like it's like,
yep,
dude, we ain't going that fast, man.
yeah,
So you add well, no,
yeah.
no, that's cool. But yeah,
And I'm
so
always I'm always quick to I got links for everything, man.
nah, that's cool, man.
And then for
Yeah,
more advanced things, they have like classes. I
okay.
see they have a couple of classes like Security Onion in production, practical analysis with Security Onion, and yeah,
I usually talk about it from an architecture standpoint, but like you said, they
yeah,
have services and products and
yeah,
everything. I'm like I said, we talk
yeah,
about because they talk a lot about architecture too from a
yep,
layered approach. So that's usually what I get out of because we just kind of
yeah,
not super far behind, but technology just seems so quick. And
yeah,
that's my other thing I need to throw out a lot of times is when you talk about quantum computers and NoSQL databases, a lot of those things just got security 3 or 4 years ago. They're so new. So a lot of
True.
times I don't trust them. Oracle's
Mm-hmm.
been out for 25 years, man. So,
Yep.
SQL Server, Microsoft been out for 30 years. So they still come up with vulnerabilities, but they've been used a lot more. They have a lot of more, especially government type security. They're comfortable with FIPS 140-2 and
Yeah.
TLA. They got all that stuff because they want that Fed money, right? So
Mm-hmm. That's true.
that's kind of why I use them. So I don't use a lot of the newest stuff because NoSQL, MongoDB, they just got security 5 years ago. So I'm not
Yeah.
trying to use that, but people love that stuff.
They love it. And even kind of towards Security Onion, they even have hardware now. So you can buy a box with everything
Okay.
pre-installed. You can put it in your environment, use that as something that ingests your logs and send it to a SIM. I think they even have dashboards to even create your own SIM within Security Onion. Like you can use like the Elk stack, like Elasticsearch,
Oh, yeah.
Logstash, and Kibana. So like you can, like, yeah, they're always moving. They came to the state of Michigan to give us training. Like who are the
Oh,
guys? I
wow.
forgot the name of it, but yeah, they are. Let me tell you, when it when you talk about blue teaming, incident response, Security Onion folk are always on it.
Oh,
They're
they are.
always
But
on
like
it.
I said,
So
they could be on it too much. Like I said, some of that stuff I can't keep up with, man. It's like,
yep,
so nah, like you said, they're
yeah,
on it.
they
My
are
man
literally
Ty got a
always
question
uploading stuff.
on the screen. Is network pen testing still viable, or should web app be the main focus? Um,
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely network pen testing is still viable.
oh yeah,
I mean,
that's
you're
part of
even
Red
looking
too.
at absolutely like so a lot of times what happens, and there's different types of penetration testing, right? The
Mm-hmm.
one penetration testing from a network perspective is very common for what you call internal pen tests. This is when an organization brings you in and they give you like an Ethernet connection or they give you access into the internal network. And there, when you're doing network pen testing, you're trying to see like if somebody has already gotten in, how
Mm-hmm.
far can they go and what vulnerabilities
Mm-hmm.
they can find. So network penetration is extremely important there. And web
Mm-hmm.
app stuff is mainly that stuff that where you have web applications facing the internet, or if you have internal web applications. So,
Mm-hmm.
but network pen testing is like first typically.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, I do pen testing at a level, like I said, to see what
Hmm.
ports I have open, if I forgot anything, because that's going to be the
Yeah.
first thing is reconnaissance, right? People usually do is
Hmm.
scanning, right?
Yeah.
I put that with penetration testing. So even
To
as a
some
blue
degree, yeah.
team, I
Hmm.
try to do a little pen testing. We talked about that. Do a little crowd system to make sure my ciphers aren't weak so they don't step through my web app easily.
Yeah.
So from a blue team time, we start off with that. So that's always viable.
Man, let me tell
But
you the
from that,
very first thing that I do OSINT first, open source
okay.
intelligence. So
Mm-hmm.
like if I'm given an organization, I'm like, all right, cool. Let's see what they have on the internet. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking at people on LinkedIn, what their
Oh,
skill
fast.
sets are, because if people have like, right, if they have like a whole bunch of Cisco certs, whole bunch of Palo Alto certs, that gives me an understanding of what technologies they're running in their organization. Especially if this person is like a senior security person or
Mm-hmm.
some type of manager or supervisor. I'm like, all right, cool, cool. I'm getting a better understanding of the infrastructure inside that organization. So I do all that before network pen testing
Oh,
or web application stuff.
yeah. We
So
were
that gives
talking
me
about that at
information.
work because people say, "How come you don't have your current job on there?" Just the reason
Mm,
you said. If I apply a
yeah.
job, I got it on my resume. I don't put it on my LinkedIn. My current
Right.
job's on there, and my current because I know, and it's even sucks for the state. Vendors
Yeah.
tell you what when they win big contracts for the government, so you know what
Beautiful. Thank
they
you.
they
That
know
gives me
what they do.
information.
Yeah.
That gives me information.
I tell my boss, and he goes, I
Yeah.
didn't think that. I go, dude, when they win something big from the state, they post it. So
Yes.
they post it. He goes, oh, I didn't think
Man.
about that. I'm like, dude, when people hiring, you look on there, they tell you every stack when they hiring. They tell you
Every
every technology.
stack,
Yeah,
everything. Which is
right. So
which is great for pen testers and the bad guys,
right,
right? Because it's like you're pretty much telling us the infrastructure that you're running and what
right,
infrastructure to look for when
right,
I get into your organization. So
right. And the
yeah.
crazy thing is, too, I did a qualys scan on somebody, and if they don't block their
Mhm.
host, it told me the Red Hat 7.3. They were two. It
Yeah.
told me all the CVEs right there to try.
Right.
And I'm like,
Right.
dude, I'm not even a good hacker, but you making it kind of easy with that.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing about those scanners is
What's
that
up,
they
man?
have particular signatures. Like
Mm-hmm.
they send out certain um, signatures that SIMs pick up a lot of times. So a lot of times, if you're trying to be quiet, you mainly want to use something like you might want to write a Python script in order to do some enumeration on that, or even use something as simple as Netcat, right? Because Netcat can put a banner of different services and protocols, and it's more undetectable than like a Nessus or a Qualys, any of those type of scanners. But
yeah, because they got signatures they looking for it, because that's what people use to do reconnaissance, is those type of things. Yeah. Netta says, I don't put my latest position on LinkedIn at all. Oh, that's pretty smart. But most companies they're just not that they're just not that on it, like I said. But two is, I mean, if you're a big company, they're either gonna use Cisco or Juniper. If you're a government, you're either gonna use Oracle or SQL Server. So you kind of know when you're going in on the size of a company.
Yeah.
Especially if you got some kind of federal compliance, you kind of know what's the usual stack they're going to use. It's going to be Java, C#, little Python. So you kind of know, Apache Tomcat, IIS, right? So you can kind of.
But even speaking a little bit even more about the OSINT, right? The open source intelligence. If I know you work for that organization, I might look to see if I could find any of your credentials from other websites. If you're out there on the internet, right? Because a lot of times people do a lot of password reuse. So if they're using a certain password on one site, that it's very likely that they're using it inside their corporate environment. So
100%.
It's a lot, man. I'm telling you, it's a lot of stuff that you can hack without really doing any active hacking. You don't have to talk to nobody. You don't have to interact with the infrastructure or nothing.
And let's be real. The kiddies share everything. I said if I look at your Facebook, your LinkedIn, and your Snapchat, I can send you an email that you're going to click on 90%.
Absolutely. So and that's why a lot of organizations go with internal pen tests. It's more like what you call an assumed breach, because phishing just runs 100%. Rampant through phishing is typically the initial attack vector for most attacks out there. So
100%.
That's why they're saying once we've been phished, now what can they do, and how can we stop them from going further?
Yeah,
because
when we're at DoD, we actually let the red team in our conference room. We gave them a conference room because, like you said, they're gonna be on our network in there. So we gonna give you a low level account.
Yeah,
and because you're gonna get it easy anyway. So here you go. Let's see.
I told you what I do. I get up. I'll get up from the conference room and go to somebody's desk and start plugging in stuff and see if there's an open US. Open Ethernet port or somebody not at work today.
Down.
Nope.
Yeah, we try to lock you down. Yeah, we try to lock down with
NAC,
like Mac or conditional access, because if you go through Azure, one of them, they look for tokens on there. Then depending on, we can tell if it's agency on hardware. So you theoretically,
how? Through MAC addresses? Are you using MAC addresses to decide?
No, if you lose, and I'm gonna do this when we do ours. And man, I'm tired. I can think.
Oh no, it's all good. I'm gonna let you go.
No, you good. In Duo, when you load Duo, you can put a key on there for your organization. So that's how we know we're controlling it. So so that's how we do it. So I'm gonna purchase, because we're gonna, like we said, we're gonna escalate it. I got the free Duo there for $3. I get that, then it'll NAC to make sure your machine is controlled by my organization when we do that attack. So I'll probably set that on later.
But is it NAC dependent upon IP address and MAC address?
I gotta look. I haven't double checked. They just said they were doing NAC. I thought it was a token in there. It's probably a little token in both of those, I would think. Both of those are easy with Smooth, so you would think there would be a token inside Cisco Duo to make it a little harder for you to spoof. It
should be.
Yeah. But I need to double check on that.
Yeah. Because if I'm able to get in there, if I'm able to impersonate something, whether IP address or MAC address, then that's just easy. Then I'm start doing some VLAN hopping. I'm going from that VLAN to another one, or just seeing what connections this device allows me to have. And a lot of times you'll see a very flat network or semi-flat, right? So that's fun. That's always fun.
You're like this. I mean, it's big. 10 years ago, we come from DoD flat network. The head network guys told me they would never have multiple VLAN segments. Web app. He said they told me they would never split them up.
Why?
A year later, because it was hard. I was like,
because you got
I
to
said, I
manage all that.
know.
Yep.
Right. So a year later, after we went to the war and actually cussing people out, I'm not playing. They set one up, but we had to go to war for that. The crazy
Yeah.
thing is, I was at DOD and they had it for forever. So I just
Mm.
assumed everybody had it, but that was incorrect.
And when we say flat network, we're talking about a network or a computer network where everything can talk to everything. So you might
Facts.
have printers,
Mm-hmm.
IP phones, web
Fact.
servers,
Nah.
tower desktop
Right,
computers,
right. Uh-huh.
cameras, right?
All right, right.
HVAC systems, elevators. I've
100%.
seen that. Typically, I've seen like flat networks in hospital environments.
Oh yeah.
Hospital environments, typically everything is flat, so you're able to get into radiation scanning machines.
Oh yeah.
You're able to touch the IV pumps. You're able to see network sensors, and man, it was just bad.
So that'd be
It was
cool
just
because when
bad.
we do the tabletop, I'm doing 4-tier architecture, and we could talk about
Okay.
like you said, what talks to what, and
Yeah.
I'll send it to you before we break it down. Like I said,
Hmm.
AWS got their well architect, and I'm talking a little about it in my class where they want you to have
Yeah.
web app database, then they want you to have a separate VLAN for your
Yep.
admins to VDI to and work on.
It should be that, right? A jump
Right,
box
right.
or a jump server. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna put our jump servers on there. Then we will have. I'm gonna put another flat network, like you said, like it's a real corporation. That'll be where your printers are at. You know that
Hmm.
kind of talks to everything. Your
Yes. Yes, super
desktops.
techy. No,
So,
no VLANs, no
right.
subnets, no segmentation at all. So yeah,
None.
I've seen that.
Oh, I seen that at a major agency I was working at. We went to war, and like I said, because we bought it from DOD.
Yeah.
And he told me that'll never happen. Okay. My boss
Hmm.
looked at me. She goes, "That's gonna happen."
Yep.
So no,
And to think about that, right? Say for instance, one of those computers in that flat networks gets hacked, a bad guy gets on it. What do they have? The keys. They can get to anything. They
we
can get to
toast.
absolutely anything. So,
We toast.
yeah,
We toast.
absolutely.
So too, and like you said, then we got the subnets. Then you got security groups, which is actually IP
Hmm.
tables on Linux or Windows
Yep.
firewalls, right? They're
Yep.
trying to control east and west traffic after the solar winds, right?
Yep.
The east and west
Absolutely.
zero trust, I think, is what the government calling it, and NIST is
Hmm.
calling it zero trust. So controlling that east and west traffic.
Yep. Now it's coming up. I'll be launching the YouTube channel before the end of the month. So,
Everybody thought you had one.
man, I've been getting. I told you I've been getting asked that question for probably maybe 3 or 4 years now. Every time I do an interview,
I think
even on
I asked you
Twitter.
that. What's your channel? Like, I ain't got one. Like, what?
Yeah,
Nah, but
just
I
haven't
figured
had the time, but finally the time opened up, so it's on its way. It is definitely
that's
on its way.
cool. You
Yep.
need anything from me, just let me know, man. I'm sure
Well,
we be
absolutely.
collabing. So I'll
Yeah.
be sending them from here over there. But so yeah, we had set up, like I said, it probably in 6 weeks, we'll do a tabletop.
Hmm.
We invite everybody to the tabletop and just kind of walk through it from, like we talked about
He's trying to keep us
multi-segment.
on here all day, man. Yes, PowerShell. PowerShell is amazing. I love it.
Oh yeah, PowerShell's it, man. I'm actually an old corn shell guy, but that doesn't exist on Windows, so you
Yeah.
gotta pick something. So the Azure
Yeah.
of choice on Windows is PowerShell.
Hmm.
So
I use PowerShell all the time to
fine.
so PowerShell a lot of times, especially on Windows, well on Windows systems, it gives you access to like the registry. So I
Oh
can
fine.
pull out a lot of registry specific things. So the
Hmm.
Windows registry, right? That's like the internals or the
Yeah.
deeper level of the Windows machine. So PowerShell can give me all types of credentials, where certain
Yeah.
things are stored, can tell me about password policies. I mean, you name it, you can gain access to a lot of things on using PowerShell
And I think
when
a
you're
lot of people
hacking.
forget that. I think a lot of people forget that registry has a lot of stuff in it, and some people
Oh yeah.
put keys and stuff and passwords in there. They should be
Yes.
putting passwords in there
Yes.
because it's
Yes.
easy to, it's there to be on it, every
Hmm.
box that they need to touch, and they know where to pull it
Yep.
from. And I'm like, that's a no. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's a no from security.
And it's some really good tools that we use for PowerShell. So have you ever heard of Bloodhound before?
I don't do much with PowerShell. That was a friend of
Okay.
mine. He kind of
Yeah.
takes that realm. I
So
got, like I said,
Bloodhound is a big tool that we use for Windows Active Directory environments in
okay.
order to pretty much get a mapping of all of the systems and users within a Active Directory. So there's some tools that you use in accompaniment with Bloodhound that kind of get you that information quicker. So it's like what you call like a bloodhound ingester. So it gets all that information, and that's written in PowerShell. So it's a .ps1 file. So
Yeah.
I use it all the time.
Yeah, the crazy, like you said, we do a ton of stuff in PowerShell. It's just like
Yep.
we were doing stuff with our, our keys we use for
Yeah.
encrypting files and moving them
Yep.
around. And so
And even for forensics, like you mentioned, with forensics, that's
yeah,
very like PowerShell. I was writing some stuff. I was writing some stuff to quickly collect information about the security posture of a Windows like workstation using PowerShell. And it's really easy to just pull it and just throw it to a file. So yeah.
I,
Yeah, she see
did
it.
we?
She see it.
Yeah,
She see the
I'm trying to
vibes.
think.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Now you good? I'm trying to think. Did we
Yeah.
block PowerShell on a couple machines? I think that might be a
Maybe.
Stig chat
Yeah,
because
so it should be like a PowerShell execution blockage.
I
So
think that's what it
sometimes you
was.
can
Yep.
like, yep, because you can use PowerShell to like spark up what you call like a reverse shell. So you
Yep.
can literally run like a one-liner and then have a reverse shell talking to whatever your attacker machine is on that machine. So
Right.
if you disable PowerShell execution, then you're able to stop a lot of that activity from happening.
Yeah, because I think we did that. Then of course, a couple of our admins was like, "We need that back," so,
Yeah. Yep.
which is
Yep.
cool.
And
So instead of
that happens. That
yeah,
happens a lot of times. Is that people want things back?
which is fine. We just don't want everybody to be able to use it right. We want the right people need it. Then those guys, we can hopefully give them
Yeah.
MFA. So if you get their account or give them a US UBA key, right? So you can actually
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
plug it in.
YubiKey.
So
Yep.
yeah, give them a little
Two factor
higher level
authentication.
security. Yeah. So
Yep.
if you get their account, you're gonna need something else to actually hack it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Cisco Port Authority. Yeah, Ty, we want to cut that on. We don't want random machines hooking into our network.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, and that's
most
it.
companies. Go ahead.
Oh yeah.
Go
Sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead. No. I was gonna say for Neta, for Bloodhound, for PowerShell, it's actually called PowerPick. PowerPick is the ingester for Bloodhound. It's a whole GitHub for it too, and that's a PowerShell command or a PowerShell tool. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you
This
good.
stuff
You
get me
good.
excited, man. I'm sorry about that, man.
Nah, you
I'm
good.
jumping in.
I like what you said. Yeah,
Yeah.
Todd, and I'll let Gabe try. Most companies I've been into don't have port security. You can just plug in your network. So they
Mm,
expect the password to block you because once you hook in, you still got to authenticate to their network somehow. Now you might be able to do a couple scans and ping a couple devices, but for you actually get on their net and authenticate,
yeah.
they believe the password will protect that. I don't want any
Mhm.
foreign machines on my network. So, but
Yeah.
um,
I see port security. I think it is good because it does limit because sometimes let's see what's the best way to explain it. So it can stop you from doing some things on the network if you have port security on there because port security doesn't like it can limit the amount of foreign devices that you
mhm.
attach to that particular port and you can also let's see what else you could do. Can't you limit like the time?
You
The only
can.
thing bad about port security at times is that it can shut down that whole port. So if you have a critical device running on that port, and that
You
can mess
tough.
up your whole system. So you
Yeah,
gotta be
that's it.
careful.
Yeah, nah, but
Mhm.
we feel like you should be able to get that back on and working. But that's true because it's gonna
Yeah.
shut down. It could shut down that whole VLAN that port's on. I've seen it do that
Hmm.
even. So no,
Yeah.
that's true. Um, AB Osman, I think LinkedIn of course is okay. I don't think I use them with other courses, but actually started my AWS actually off a LinkedIn course. My company gives me a LinkedIn Learning for free,
Hmm.
so for me, any information is good information, right? So that's
Hmm.
what I think of LinkedIn Learning. You got anything on LinkedIn Learning? Your thoughts on LinkedIn Learning?
I mainly use LinkedIn to
Just
to
network.
find out, yeah, to like network for my personal account, but
No, okay.
also for a lot of hackers, like y'all might not know, but a lot of us have dummy accounts, dummy
Oh,
LinkedIn
facts.
accounts. Because
Oh,
when you
yeah.
get on LinkedIn, you go to somebody's profile, they can see that you saw it. So I
Facts.
use a dummy one to if I'm trying to do reconnaissance for an engagement or
Yeah,
something. So
Yeah,
people
I
use
worked.
dummy LinkedIn accounts.
Yeah, I got to be careful where I work this. I work at a national agency. We go on your accounts to figure out if you
Oh
owe
yeah.
money. So then we figured out that, okay, is that are we false advertising or not making ourselves known? Can they sue us for
Yeah.
that? Right. So
Yeah.
we had
Yeah.
to talk to our lawyers about that. So
Yeah.
so
Dummy accounts. Make a
yeah,
dummy
so
account today.
yes. So can a government agency
Yeah.
do that legally? So that was the question.
Mm-hmm.
So too, and I don't know if Gabe does this as much as I do. I'm surprised how many lawyers I talk to about NDAs or is this legal what we doing? Is there any ramifications? Are we
Mm-hmm.
breaking any state statute? I work for a state agency, so that's why I talk to lawyers probably once a week. Is this
Yeah.
right? From a breach note, do you communicate with lawyers that much?
I don't communicate with lawyers that much, but I know very much so during like an incident response process, or even anything when, say for instance, we find a big vulnerability and it might be for like an executive or something. Lawyers get involved because there's
Okay.
legal implications of certain
Right.
things. So I know for all of our engagements, there needs to be some type of legal sign off from that
Okay.
organization because it's you can get legal
All
legal can
right.
jump in a lot
Yeah, you're
if you
getting
do something
hemmed
bad.
up. The
Right.
weird thing that
Right.
that confused me that I used to sign without thinking is I sign NDAs because that's me getting information from that client.
Right, right,
Our legal started looking at NDAs because people were sliding stuff in NDAs, and we were like, "Hey, you can't put that in there. Like, if something happened, we
right.
could be responsible." I'm like, "Dude, I'm
Yeah,
reviewing your documentation. I'm not pen testing. What are you
yeah.
talking
Trying to get
about?"
a little,
So,
trying to catch a
yeah,
lick. They're trying to get you
yeah.
on
So
like a
I
legal
send,
lick.
yeah. So
Hmm.
any NDA I get, I send our legal department and they sign off on it. So
Hmm.
every now and then they strike something and send it back to their legal. So I always joke, I'm like, your legal need to get with my legal and let me know when I
Right.
can do my thing, man. So
There
it's
you
funny.
go.
Ty, for me, does using Google take away from being a good hacker or pen tester? Now, for me, Google just a part of resources for like any tool I use. So I don't think
Hmm.
it hurts you. Now, I expect you to understand basic techniques of your job. You shouldn't Google that. But for me, Google just part of my toolkit. What's your thoughts on
Yeah,
that,
I
man?
love Google, man. That's my main thing, man. So it's even a subcategory. It's called Google dorking or Google hacking, where Google can be used in order to find things on the internet or find out about particular people because
Uh-huh.
Google has different operators in it. So,
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
like
I use them
like
all.
a
Go ahead.
yeah, so like boom, right? The end, like there's like an end title, file
Mhm.
type. Like you can search for certain keywords that can really help you get to the information that you're looking for.
I tell you
And
what I
I,
use.
I
I use
yeah, go
minus
ahead.
a lot because
Yep,
words
minus.
come. The other thing too is site. I'm only want to look
Yeah,
on this site, right?
right.
For information. So now I'm a Google SME. I think I'm on a
Yeah.
Google SME
No,
hacker. So
listen. It's Googling is imperative. And I'm a little reluctant to even give you put one of these resources because it will literally give you Google Dorks or
no, I'm with
things
you.
that you can put in Google where you can find vulnerable things on the
I,
internet.
I'm gonna leave that to you. I was thinking about doing a video. That should be your first video, man. Give a little game out on Google, man.
Man, I don't know. I don't know because it literally puts you so like I was doing one of these Google Dorks and I was looking for like what you call an FTP server, right? A
Okay.
file transfer protocol.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
FTP servers are where a lot of organizations keep files, right?
Too many.
He said Google Food, right? They keep files. And a lot of times they don't keep these internal to the organizations. They'll
I don't know.
have it open to the web to the internet. So
I'm rolling my eyes.
you can search for FTP servers if you put in
Hmm.
certain things
Hmm.
that are exposed to the internet, and you can just go
Facts.
ahead and start clicking along. You can go ahead and start clicking. Or
No.
even another one are like web facing
Hmm.
cameras. So
All facts. That's huge.
webcams, like you can look at like the webcam footage for Spain nude beach or something, right? Because
Oh
sometimes
yeah,
they have cameras,
they
right,
do.
that are just
They
on the
do.
internet and you can
They
use
do.
Google to find them. You can because there's certain
Oh yeah.
vendors, right? Like Axis or something. Like these, they have certain cameras that are internet facing. They're
Oh yeah.
very popular that you can find on the internet. So it's
And the
very
weird
easy.
thing too is you can Google stuff and you get in the web service, like you said, then they like you transfer the directory in the file system, so I can start looking at HTML code. I'm like,
I'm
dude, you
telling you.
didn't lock down your web server, man. Now I'm
Yes.
just treating it like it's a Windows directory, man. Just looking at
Right.
everything. So now
Yeah.
I'm
And that's
quite
the
familiar.
thing, right? Like, so not only is that web server that's on the internet or that camera on the internet is attached to that organization, attached to the internet, it can also be attached to other things inside your organization. So say
Like you
for
just
instance, you take over that webcam and that webcam is attached to your internal network. I mean, you're in there. You were in there.
then,
So
like you said, a lot of people still on a flat network, so that's your
yep.
jump point. That's your jump up point.
Mm-hmm.
So no, 100.
No, keep it techie. It's not a tool. It's just stuff you could do. It's probably a tool that does that. But you
But
can. I
do it
mean,
with raw.
it's just getting too easy for people to do
Right.
things, to do
Right.
malicious things. But yeah, man,
That should
it's
be your
crazy.
first video, man. Give them a touch of it, man. I'm leaving that one for you, man. You can find you can find IP cameras. Oh yeah, that's easy, man.
See, but the thing that you got to worry about is that you can be giving people ammunition to shoot, right? So a lot of times I got to be very
Oh man, you
because
giving
I
a
know I
kid a
have good
gun?
intentions,
No,
right? Because I know
you
I have
giving a
good
kid a gun.
intentions.
Facts,
Yeah, no,
facts.
I don't want to give kids guns. I don't want to
No,
do that.
man.
So, but it's very easy to do a lot of
Oh,
things
oh
on the
yeah.
internet.
I'm real, and you much more on the red team than me, and I got to
Hmm.
be careful, and I'm way more blue team than red team. But like you said, it's like,
Hmm.
dude, what are you gonna do with this if I give it to you, man?
Yeah.
Are you gonna try to get both of us in trouble?
Yep.
Like you're gonna be blaming me because I'm a professor. He told me. I'm like, I know
Yeah.
exactly what to get. Facts. So
Yep.
wow.
It can get
So
crazy, man. She said,
yeah,
"Wow, yeah, yeah, wow."
yeah.
You get
Yeah, it
wow.
could be
Oh,
cute. They do
yeah,
them now.
EJPT is cool. I'm
Oh,
sorry. Go ahead.
okay. No, you good. EJP 2023. What is that? Don't spell that
So
one out.
EJPT is a certification. I think it stands for something junior pen tester.
Okay.
So it's a really good like entry level certification for pen testing and ethical hacking.
Okay.
It's good. Like I don't even think that it'll take you to like I know somebody who probably she didn't have any knowledge of like or hacking or anything, and she got the EJPT in like maybe 2 or 3 months. It really
Okay.
steps you through it step by step by step. So I don't
Right.
even think you have to wait that long to get that certification. Now, if you're talking about like a OSCP, which is like
Oh
crazy,
yeah.
this is probably like one of the best known, well known, and more difficult
Mm-hmm.
ethical hacking certifications to get. That might take you till 2023 to study
Right.
for and to pass. So,
I got a guy I work with. He's gonna come on my channel. He has one, and I think he said
mhm.
they gave him 48 hours, and they were looking at him at his webcam, and they watch
Yep,
you what you doing around your computer. So he said
they're
that was the
proctored.
hardest. Yeah, he said that was
Absolutely.
one of the hardest thing he ever did. So he's coming on my channel and
Yeah.
talk
Here,
about
I could
that.
just throw the link in there for EJPT because it looks like people are asking. It's
That's
a good
cool.
cert. It's a good cert. I know some people who have it, and it's starting to show up even more through like job postings for pen
Yeah.
testers. So yeah, it's a really good
No,
cert. I highly
Google,
recommend it.
Google gonna have to get on these Russian bots, man. They be popping up.
Man,
They good though.
yep, it's
Keep
definitely
keep me
Russian.
employed. Keep me employed. Let's see, Osmo.
They
I'm
probably
looking at.
just have a tool that's going around and
Oh,
just
they
dropping the
do.
link.
You know they doing it. Get the MD 100 101 to become 365 certified. Any advice?
I don't know what that is.
What's the MD 100 and 101? I don't know what
Mm-mm.
that is. Office 365. I'm assuming that's the Azure or Microsoft certified one. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
AB, give me a little more. What you talking about? For the 365, I think he's talking about the Azure one, certified ethical
I'm not sure.
hacker.
So she's saying is certified ethical hacker CompTIA? No. So certified ethical hacker is EC Council. It's a different organization that
Oh,
gives
that's
that
what
certification out.
I was right. He said Office 365, Microsoft. Yeah, for
Okay.
anything Azure is going to be fine. we use Office 365, and from the federal level, they have a lot of extra services you can buy. So
Yeah.
that's a good cert if you're in a large state agency, Fed, because all the big companies I know are going to Office 365. I don't know
Okay.
about the middle companies. And the other thing is they got the second largest phone system in the United States. People
Really?
are
I didn't know
outsourcing their
that.
phone system to
Hmm.
Azure.
Hmm.
So I was surprised when I heard that modern desktop application. Yeah,
Yeah.
tool is a good place to start. I don't know your background, but you can probably start off help test and jump right into an admin position because I said we do a lot of Office 365 with Teams and the email, and like I said, they got special encryption for federal clients in Office 365, and uh, um, they add so many products they get on my nerves. I want to do a security review of those products. They don't tell you they be adding 10 new products a month. I'm like, dude, we got to review these, man.
Hmm.
But they said, sorry, you bought it. When we get them done, we put them out there. So we trying to figure out how we gonna handle that. So I actually put an enhancement request that any new product should be approved by us before our users can use them. Now we can block them with permissions, but sometimes they do some weird stuff that you're not aware of in the back because they work together. So I got a good book on Google dorking. Ty's off and running, man. He got a couple.
Chill. Chill.
Chill,
You
Ty.
don't
Don't get in trouble, Ty. We can't help you, man. My lawyer's
listen.
coming on next week, man. I'm gonna have to give you her number.
Listen. It's
Mhm.
it's dangerous. It's dangerous. Google Dorking is
Oh,
not. Yeah.
yeah. Hey, B, as a
You don't
student,
want to
I
do that,
think,
Willie. Hmm.
yeah, the Ty, chill out, man. We won't get you in trouble. Yeah, B, that'd be good as a student. The first thing to get in probably is a help desk to get you on an Office 365 and that
Hmm.
whole Azure stack, especially in the Fed and state
Right.
places, it's off and running. So you'll easily be able to get in. Then you can pivot to networking, programming, cybersecurity. But that'll be a
Yeah.
good way to get your foot in the door and get off and running.
Yeah. I say if your goal is security, you don't necessarily have to go through help desk to get into it.
Facts.
You can go, man. These days, there's so many different paths that people use to get into security that you can almost jump into it from it at an
Oh,
entry
I agree.
level
I agree.
role. So,
I agree. I guess for me, I mean, you work at bigger
mhm,
companies that do that. Our security team's small, man. We old. So when
yeah.
you go in the government, I could, each agency, like we got one of the biggest teams. We only got 5 people, man. Most
Oh wow.
security government because they're cheap. It'd be like 3 people. You got a
Mm,
CISO, a security manager, because we got a private cloud, so they do a lot of that, like Amazon. But like we said,
hmm.
it's a shared responsibility. You own part of that too. But
Yeah.
a lot of people don't get that.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Let's see what
Oh
this.
man. See, no, I gotta go, man. We're gonna be here all
Yeah, we're
day.
gonna wrap it up. Me and Gabe
Yeah.
can talk it up. I'm sure he's gonna be a regular person on my channel. I'm sure I'll be on this channel. So we're gonna shut it down. I'm like,
Because just
I'm
that
got us.
question is a whole nother 15 to
Oh
30 minutes.
yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
just real quick is like you
Yeah.
said, red team is pen testing. Blue team is like we talked about sticks, locking it down, best practices. Purple
Hmm.
team is application security, where you build application, SQL injection, command, cross-site scripting. That's a whole. So that's the big three. Then we're gonna throw compliance on there where you can just do paperwork. So we're gonna shut it down on that one.
Yeah.
Because like I said, me and Gabe can be up here all
All
day just
day.
shot.
All
Okay,
day.
Netta said her team is a 4. Like I said, mostly see Gabe went to
I'm
Mandy
sure
where they
you
got
are.
1,000 people and shit. So
Man, it's not that. No. So, like, it's not that big. You would think
I
it's
was thinking
larger,
Mandy
but it's
is
not that
big.
big.
Ah, see, I
Nope.
was confused, man.
Well, I would say it's big, but think about how many organizations get hacked and then think about the size of Mandiant. Like, Mandiant
Facts.
is not as large as the problem. I think
Oh
that's
no,
the best
no.
way to put it.
I think
Yeah.
for y'all, y'all was the Smeeze at the top of the pyramid
Yeah.
of the problem. You got a lot of
Absolutely.
fake
Come
computer
on.
security firms. I don't think are couldn't secure their way out of a paper bag. But
People just
that's
trying
a whole
to
nother
kind of get a
show.
quick buck by acting
Fact.
like they have some type of expertise. They don't know what they're doing. A lot of
All
organizations
right.
do not know what they do.
But that people
Anyway.
file for it. We're done. Thanks for joining me. We're gonna do
Yeah.
AWS security practitioner Sunday tomorrow at 3. If you're available, join me. If not, check the replay. And we went over some of this. Was the forensics I'm gonna start teaching in 6 weeks, and I'm working on my diagram so me and Jay can do a tabletop walkthrough, so yeah, I can see what that looks like. So. We're out. We're shutting it down.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me, Gabe. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thanks for having me, man. Yeah,
I appreciate it.
definitely appreciate it. All right.
Let me know if you need anything from for your show. But you're a veteran. You've been out here longer than me, man.
I'm just around, man. I'm just like everybody else, man.
All right, everybody have a good night. I appreciate it, Game Over.
Absolutely. All right, see y'all later.
See y'all later.